Testing, testing, testing. Hi, everybody. Oh, I have a request already. All right, guys. So, just waiting for more people to come in. Texting. I'm gonna text this out to the judge, and I need to send this to DM to let people know that I am live right now.
Hey, Miss Dana, I've been waiting for this space.
Hi, Miss T. How are you?
I am doing just fine. But definitely I hope y'all are able to touch on the cheating scandal that happened a few years back in Fulton County where Fanny did RICO charges against all those educators who she totally destroyed their careers only because they wanted to help some students that were in a school that was underfunded, under resourced, and they helped them on a test. And those, I think it was 11 or 12 teachers and principals, and I believe the superintendent had to leave as well. They
Mhm.
all lost their jobs. And these were professionals, and she went after them like they were criminals, and they were all black.
Yeah, I've been on my YouTube channel. We've been talking about Fanny, and we didn't touch on her history. So definitely, that is something that you could ask the judge to touch on. And of course,
Mhm.
I would remind him as well.
And then the other thing, if people don't remember, there was a young guy, 27. He fell asleep at a Wendy's during the protests.
Uh huh.
He fell asleep in his car in the drive-through at a Wendy's. His name was Rayshard Brooks. Someone called the police on him, and the police ended up killing him. And she chose not to prosecute those police officers as well. And that also happened in Atlanta. And do you remember that? Do you remember when that
No,
killing
but I've
happened?
heard. No, but I've heard of that. I did hear of it, but all
Okay, I'm
right.
gonna send you an article on it. But yeah, she didn't prosecute those white attorneys who killed that black man, only 27. He was married, he had children, and he probably just was tired, probably just got off work and fell asleep in the drive-through lane. So at 27, he lost his life.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Hmm.
So what well, stay up as a speaker, so when the judge come on, after he give his opening statements and stuff like that, you could bring that up, to ask
Yeah.
him, if he's familiar with it, or to elaborate more, or let him know, and we could implement that part of the discussion as well. um because that's one thing, because we was just talking about last week hearings and her
Hmm.
demeanor and what's going to happen next and stuff
So
like that.
embarrassing. So embarrassing.
Very. But the fact is that that is something that we should be talking about now, is, let's look at her past record, which is very important, but any DA, in the prosecution office, man, woman, white, black, it doesn't matter. Their job is to have convictions, to win, to win, to win, by any means necessary. So, I think for me, this is not a race thing. I just don't like the fact that she displayed
Hmm.
um, the typical negative black, angry black woman. So, which was unnecessary. But
Right.
and I think that's what really did it in. And so, but I think that's no, I think we should definitely discuss,
Let's smoke it.
yeah, her past record. So yeah, so that's why I said smoking on that fanny pack today. We gonna keep dragging this bitch. And listen, if
Yeah,
she was white, I would drag her too. Oh
absolutely.
yes.
And the other thing is, let's just look at how many men ended up losing their careers, high paying careers, because they slept with a subordinate. Even though it was consensual sex, right? Remember,
Mhm.
Matt Lauer lost his job, and it's shit, hundreds of other men. You can't sleep with your subordinates. It is
That is true. I didn't think of that.
unethical. Yeah. And I'm going to get a list of the names of some men that lost their jobs because they simply had consensual sex with an employee that was under them. And
Right.
she clearly states that she hired Nathan Wade and that they did have intimate relations while he was a married man. So um, yeah, let's smoke this, Fanny.
Yeah, I don't harp on a marriage thing because he could have been separated from his wife, but it's still messy because he's your special prosecutor. Like, come on, come on. But with the biggest case of your career ever, no, no, like you just dropped the ball. You completely dropped the ball.
And I really think Kemp wanted her to carry this ball all the way to the touchdown, but because he's given her a very young judge, and I'm sure he's already coached the judge because he got some fire for Trump because Trump embarrassed him a few years ago, right? So I'm sure
Well,
he
yeah,
wanted
I think
Georgia
because
to be
Trump,
the state.
yeah, I think because Trump was upset that Kemp didn't stand his ground and like support him when all this was going down in 2020. So Trump, I guess, called him out on it. So maybe that was like they're falling out or whatever. But yeah, Kemp, he's been quiet. And for political reasons, I think he should remain quiet. Because this is
Hmm.
messy. It's messy, but listen, sometimes you gotta let the other side, because this is the Democrat side, let them fall on that damn sword.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
But
Well,
I do think she has been unethical, and glad you're having this space, and I'm here for it. And
Yeah.
I'll on you.
All right. Sha.
greetings to the family. I'm
Hey,
listening.
child.
Hey. Um, I was on Dinus Demir's YouTube show. Not on, but listening. And
Mhm.
it's interesting. They were talking about this subject matter, and their viewpoint was different, but it did shape, it did sway, it did turn my viewpoint a certain way after watching it. But I just I think that the sister has the type of energy that is, there's certain people with certain types of energy. She got a certain type of energy that is leadership. She's aggressive, bold, all those things. Those are qualities that men and women can have. So she's got that. I get that. But there was a certain amount of overconfidence in a way, or ego,
Mhm.
and maybe those are two different things. And she said some things I thought were not really, the best thing to say. But then I'm like, I'm in another generation, and I'm looking at love and hip hop and all this other stuff, and thinking, oh well, maybe that's what they do these days. Maybe that's more acceptable to say, because of the type of culture that popular culture that we have now, which is just low level, low life, kind of raunchy, and less like the old school. But I will say this, that those lawyers on Dinah Smith show were saying that it's not even the fact that she they can prove that she had sex or that it was inappropriate. The problem is, or they were saying, is the fact that it was perceived as wrong is all that it needs to be. The fact that
Mhm.
it's perceived as wrong, because he's saying, Nathan Wade's saying that his marriage was over in 2015, I think, and he gave his whole lawyer lingo vocab on how he said that it was over some kind of legal way. It was over, but they kind of were just going through the motion. So according to him,
Well, let me
it,
ask this: did he say that they were legally separated?
I don't think so. I'm not. I think they were
Because
just.
yeah, because honestly, if you were legally separated, that's all you got to say. You're like, yes, I was married, but I was legally separated, and that's what a lot of people do. They legally separate, even though they're not divorced. so that you won't have this appearance of being messy. But go ahead.
No, I think that he did something that was legal or filed, that it's in record that 2015 they were on the outs. I don't know what that was. So I don't know if it was separated or he, it sounds like there was something that he could point to that was an official marker.
Okay. No, because my thing is, the wife, she wasn't celibate since 2015. She had boyfriends too, of course. So, which is fine because you're separated. It's just that as a lawyer, he's a lawyer. Like, come on, dude, you should have known to legally separate. And the wife kept quiet throughout all this because she knew it would play in her favor. Because when this hit the fan, didn't she, when they divorce was finalized, last month, didn't she come out trying to make it seem like, she was quote unquote the married wife who was suffering? And I'm pretty sure, her settlement, she got broke off extra lovely than what she probably would have originally gotten if none of this mess never came to light or never happened. So a lot of times the wife, let's not jump on the fact that he was married and Fani was screwing him, because wives cheat more and wives are not innocent. They just know how to play the game when they see an opportunity to make sure that they could get all the settlement money as possible. And I'm pretty sure she got extra. But
well, they haven't divorced yet.
Yeah, and
Fani has been called Fani has been called. They are going through a divorce now, and Fani has been subpoenaed to speak on the wife's behalf in that divorce trial.
Yeah, I think because the wife, she wants some more money.
Well, but he said, I heard him say, and correct me if I'm wrong, when he was on a stand, he mentioned that his wife cheated on him, which is why he left the relationship.
When they separated, the wife was dealing with somebody else?
No, when they were together, she cheated, and that's one of the reasons why, or the reason why he left the relationship on 2015.
Oh yeah, I believe it, because it is statistically known that wives cheat more than the husbands. It's just that the husbands never find out. And really in life period, in relationships and marriages, yes, men, we do it way better if we decide to do it, and we do it as if it doesn't exist. Just a little news flash. So, and I don't know, we don't know what was going on in their marriage, but they were married for a long time. And then too, it's all about, how can I get the biggest settlement? And shit, maybe it was the wife that alarmed Trump defense people about him and Fani's affair. So, how did this all come to light? And of course, this is the thing, you're trying to convict a former president of the United States. Do you really think that they were just going to come to court and battle you back and forth? No. He has the CIA on speed dial. He has political investigators like Olivia Pope, because there is a real Olivia Pope. And you pay these people millions of dollars to put the flashlight all up in your ass, in your intestines, and to find out everything on everybody in her office. Like, what do you think was going to happen? So you just made it really easy for them to use this and blow up your whole goddamn case.
And what about this turn of a conspiracy kind of thought? What if it was all planned this way from the beginning to make sure that Trump did not get off? Trump got off.
Right. I think that Trump people had this information over a year ago, but they strategically decided to drop it now in 2024, right? Because this is an election season, and that's my theory. This is just my theory. I think they already knew this, but they were just trying to plan. They was calculating, okay, we're going to drop this bombshell in 2024. And then and so once this dropped, they got to go through the hearing, what they're going through now. And the judge is not going to rule on this until next week. And most likely, he's going to, what is he doing? Like, I'm texting him to come on the space and he's tweeting randomly. And so, and then, so the judge is not going to make his decision to next week. And let's, say if he has to, he's going to dismiss her whole office. And then you got to bring in a whole brand new DA office from outside and bring them up to speed. And by the time they do all that and start this case, it's going to be well into the summertime, right? And say if the case do carry on, he's going to be elected already in November. He's going to win. And it's going to go nowhere, basically. And then too, the judge was saying yesterday, he was like, another DA office may not want to take on this case. They don't want to touch this. This like career suicide.
Yeah, and those lawyers in Dinah Samir's room was saying that in their opinion, it's not only that it's going to be dropped or whatever, dismissed or something, she's going to be disbarred. That's what they were saying. And I'm like, really? Like, and another person came on later and was like, nah, she won't be disbarred. He sounded like he has some legal background. But two lawyers said that she's potentially going to lose her lawyer's license.
Well, I want to say thank you, Fani Willis, for giving me all this lovely content and giving all of us content creators on YouTube and other social media outlets all this content to be monetized and to eat off your fanny pack. Yeah. Hi, Judge.
Hi there. I see you made that fanny pack work. You came in with a good metaphor there. By the way, people need to understand one salient thing about this whole situation. She is not on trial. She is simply a witness. The parties of interest, the party of interest, is the Attorney General's office, District Attorney's office for Fulton County, Atlanta. That's what's on at issue. So there are attorneys representing that office, and she was a witness. They were arguing with the judge as to whether or not she would be required to testify, because the other side wanted her testimony as a witness. She was not on trial, so they could call her. Now, she jumped in there, put hand on him, did that snake charming thing, wiggling it all around, threw the sheaf of papers on other counsel's table, which was just as rude as you can get, and went up there and astonishingly forgot all about the Fifth Amendment considerations and put herself in a trig bag. Now, she's contending that this affair occurred or started after Wade got an appointment. The proof is contradicted, and remember, she's not on trial. The other woman is just as much a witness for the issue as Fani is. The other woman said it started back in 2019. The dad and her say, but the dad said, I've never seen him over there. There's this other boyfriend, the DJ over there. Well, of course, Wade's not going to spend the night with her. He's a married man. Remember, his wife's upset. And she files. So you get all this back and forth and people get confused. That's not what the issue is. The issue is this. As an officer of that court, she had an obligation that did not depend upon somebody asking her. She was supposed to volunteer. And if she had an affair with Wade that started before his appointment, she should have brought that to the court's attention and let it decide if he should be disqualified. If it happened after he got the appointment. She had an absolute obligation to approach the judge and let him know. Now, she could have done it in camera. That means without anybody else but her and the judge knowing about it. And the judge could have said, yay, nay. And he might have said, no, I'm not going to allow it. It's a conflict since you have to sign off on his claims. And he could have just said, simply due to matters that are developed, court finds that we must remove Mr. Wade from this position. He would have lost out some money. He could have removed the DA's office, but he probably wouldn't have then. But she failed in her obligations under the canons of ethics and under the requirements as a judicial officer that she report candidly as an officer of the court. She did not. So either way you take it, she screwed herself.
Are you on a speaker or something? Why do you sound airy-ish? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You sound far, not far. I can hear you, but you just sound like you're on the other side of the room. And
I don't know what happened. It's not
okay. That sounds better. You sound like you're closer to the phone.
Well, what happened is my phone switched to my iPad and is not supposed to work through that. So
oh, that's why.
iPad's on the other side of the room. But if you could hear me, that's the dilemma. She screwed either way. Next point is, let's go through her testimony a little bit. Her contention was that she was flat broke busted, and she even gratuitously threw in that IRS put a lien on her home. Now, IRS did not operate on that lien and seize it and force a sale because most probably 99% of the time there's an affidavit or an attestation she has to make under oath, well, under subject to penalties of federal perjury, that she was unable to pay it. So IRS has that. They routinely have their agents listen in on stuff like this for potential information that can lead to a prosecution. Now, she has testified that all of these cash transactions are going on, and she had at least $15,000 in back money that she probably did not report to IRS. So they're going, whoa, wow, false statement, making a false statement to a federal officer with an amount of money involved over $10,000. That is a federal felony. Okay, woo, wow, look at that. And then the next thing, all of these multiple $1,000 payments back and forth that should have been receipted and recorded, they were not, nor were they reported. Ooh, you got IRS problems. And then there's an inference that there's money laundering going on. Where did she get the money? There's a problem in Atlanta perpetually there about bribes being given between defendants and the DA's office or somebody that's a chief of police. We got a woman that was accused of that. Now the chief of police in Memphis that was a chief in Atlanta. She got fired. Now, that happens all the time. So there's an inference of, you say you're flat broke busted. Where'd the money come from? Is this an effort to fleece the public? She signed off on it. You've got Wade, who has collected, depending upon how you add it up, $650,000 to $695,000, and the matter hasn't even been set for trial. Now, the other three lawyers who do have extensive criminal experience have billed for quite a bit less than that. About maybe a quarter of that, maybe less than that. The Attorney General of the United States of America, responsible for handling all of the legal business of the United States, he gets paid about $360,000, $380,000 a year. President of the United States of America gets $480,000 a year. So he is preliminarily billed more than these people get as in a salary for handling nothing but the kind of stuff he's handling. And he has no criminal law background. None. So where do we get in here? Is this enrichment or what? And by the way, this race thing is really awful. John Floyd struck me as a very good lawyer. He showed you how it's done. He was polite, professional. He was humorous about things, and he did a very marvelous job of sneaking some stuff in that was otherwise be inadmissible, and he tried to help her out. He made one mistake, and he ought to have known better because he has discussed it before. It isn't a black thing to keep the money in. What he was talking about was money in the cookie jar for a rainy day. Damn near every race of woman understands that. That's ubiquitous. And yes, this happened. And we used to have a joke 55 years ago. Guys and gals would tell it. When a guy says he's broke, he's broke. When a woman says she's broke, she's just down to her back money. And that ain't got nothing to do with blacks. It's just women. But black folk did that too. Mama, grandmama, aunt, friend girl, they all had back money, either under the mattress, in the closet, or in the cookie jar, literally. When you needed some special money, the kids needed, they had it. And when there was an emergency, they always had a little bit extra. They had a little bit extra. That's not black thing, that's woman thing. And it just came across badly. The other point that was bad, it was black, 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 black. Okay, fine. Except Atlanta, because of its gay situation, has a whole lot of corporate headquarters that moved there because it was friendly to that. You've got these major corporate entities, national and international. And the district attorney of Fulton County, which includes Atlanta, is supposed to be protecting them. So how do you think they react to black, 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 everything's race, and then you get that clown show where she was rude and boorish. She was not dressed appropriately. That was tackhead poor. And she put that smirk on her face. Her body language was awful. And for those who have never been on a jury, in some states at least, there is an instruction the judge gives to the jury about how to assess a witness's testimony. And remember, she's not the defendant, she is a witness. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you may consider the demeanor, bearing of the witness, the way they testify. Do they make eye contact? Do they appear shifty in their seats? Are they fidgety? Do they have an attitude that is obvious that indicates a lack of confidence in their testimony? Is there any interest in the outcome or lack thereof, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? In other words, the jury would be entitled to look at how she brought herself off in that courtroom, sat down in that witness chair, and how she acted when she gave the testimony. She acted flippant, arrogant, and disrespectful. And guess what? There's no jury in the box. The trier of fact, which is considered to be the reasonable man or woman or person, consists under American law of 12 people. That is the trier of fact. If it's not 12 people, which is a singular, it's the judge. So the trier of fact is the judge who has charged juries with this, and he is aware of this, and she's clowning in there, acting like she's in a ghetto beauty salon, waggling her head with all kinds of attitude and trying to jump the judge, and he's not been bad to her. When a judge gets out of line and it's your client, on the line, you got to do what you got to do. You might get locked up for contempt. But the bottom line is, she's not representing anybody. She wasn't on trial. She's a witness. And she clowned like a damn fool up there. And you can't tell me that any self-respecting lawyer would approve of that kind of bullshit. It's absolutely inappropriate. Wade was cool. Her daddy was cool. They acted with professional decorum, and she acted like she was some little street tart. And I know she did not grow up in the streets. Her
In a
daddy
hot
grew up
pink
in
dress.
Her daddy grew up in South Central LA. I knew him. I went to school with him for 8 years. And he was no punk. He was a straight up and down brother who was always righteously there for the cause. And she didn't grow up in the streets. So how come she's trying to act all that sister girl, you know? Like, what the hell is the matter with you? And why did you walk in there like that instead of having appropriate business attire? You look like you should have been walking up in there with some house shoes on with what you had on. And I'm commenting on this because I've been in the position of this judge here. Remember, I was the last judge on the James Earl Ray case. Did he kill Martin Luther King? And many of you are too young to remember that, but they had as many press members up in my courtroom with as many cameras doing the same thing. You don't act like that up in front of a court. And there is no excuse for it. And your damn fool self, who is in charge of administering prosecutorial authority, you don't know about the Fifth Amendment, and you got so caught up in what you were doing, you did not get the idea once you had put yourself in that trick bag of it doesn't make any difference relative to this, whether you took up the affair with him beforehand and or afterwards, whether you were buying some dick or what you were reimbursing, or you were trying to show him that you could pay your own way, which nobody believes, but you got attitude, so you got all the sister girls going, yeah, go girl, you strong woman. No, you're a goddamn fool, because you're about to lose your law license, let alone get prosecuted for a number of criminal offenses that she implicated herself in or confessed in or incriminated herself behind, or some IRS problems for real. You got one stupid ass performance up there that's an embarrassment to a first year law student to commit, let alone somebody that's district attorney. That's what she did wrong. It has nothing to do with white and black. She just acted a fool and tried to play a race card. Not that there aren't problems.
Right. So that was a great opening. So I wanted to we're going to ride out. We're going to smoke on Fanny Pack a little bit longer this week, for the rest of this week as well, up until the judge make his decision. And
I always thought strap on a fanny pack. You got to put that belt on, and I think that's a pun in there too.
All right, so I did a poll. Which one sounds better, smoking on a fanny pack or strapping on a fanny pack? And I said to the judge, if you want to say strap on, you got to say pause, because that don't sound too right. And smoking on a fanny pack means like you know, cooking someone, you know, or dragging them. Shout out to Minister Jack. And he's in the space. But so yeah, we're gonna keep riding on her back, on Mammy's back. Fanny, the Mammy. So it was a space yesterday that Luke from Two Live Crew held. And this is why I like when celebrities try to talk about politics. They just sound, you know, like idiots. But I could tell he was like a Democrat shill, and I don't care. But I think the reason why you are going to talk about this, and people have any questions or want to make a comment, please request to come up. And I know some people are already up here, because you are a judge. Well, you're retired, but you were a sitting judge for decades, a lawyer for decades prior to that. So you can educate us all on the process that is taking place with this hearing. So I want to go to Ms. T. Shaw. Harriet, I saw you requesting, I don't know if something was wrong with their Wi-Fi. So Ms. T, Shy, Matthew, Adam, Real Queen. And like I said, if you might want a request to come up, please do so. We do take our time with this Twitter space, a minimum of 3 hours. I kind of don't want to go over 4 hours today. And I will appreciate it if you want to request now. Also, please repost this space. And in the Jumbotron, I have the link to Judge Joe Brown barbecue sauce, because you could purchase it on Amazon, or you could go directly to the website and go purchase you some barbecue sauce. Yes. So with that said, I want to go to Miss T because she highlighted something very important, Judge, that we did not touch on, and that was Fanny Pack conviction history. So go ahead, Miss T.
Hey, Dana, thank you so much. Hey, Judge, good to be in the space with you again. I got your
Yes,
barbecue
ma'am.
sauce. It is absolutely delicious. I had it on some brisket on Sunday.
Thank you.
Hey, it was good. It might be one of my new favorites. Um, Now, one thing, I live in Atlanta. I wanted Paul Howard to win. He did not. Fanny actually ran on the fact that she would be a DA that would not sleep with her subordinates, right? Um, she made that a thing that she said all over every time she went and
I
campaigned
didn't
somewhere.
comment on that, but I noticed that. So that you're raising a sound issue. It's absolute rank hypocrisy.
And that's what I wanted to, because people are saying, well, it ain't about who she slept with. Number one, there's some people are saying he's not her subordinate, but at the church, they run back to the black church when they're in trouble. At the church, she said that she hired him. She said she hired a white woman, a white man, and a black man. But she said they're only coming after the black man, right? But if she hired him, that makes him her subordinate. Am I not correct?
This is the thing. She's responsible for signing off on his billing claims. So, in other words, it's supposed to be a neutral and detached evaluation of their merit, the claims. But you're screwing the guy. That takes it out of that realm. You don't have husbands or wives approving each other's claims to the state. That just does not happen. You have to bring in an independent assessor as to whether it is appropriate. And that's another thing she did wrong. See, that's pending. Also, I'll mention this now before I forget it. She's prosecuting Trump and the other multiple defendants for RICO violations. She got up there and out of her own mouth implicated and incriminated herself in multiple instances of things that are elements of RICO criminality. So she was confessing to RICO content.
Absolutely. For instance, when she said she took some of the campaign funds and put those monies aside, isn't that a misappropriation of funds?
Yes, and guess what else it does? It creates a tax liability. It's gain. And you know what? I've actually had clients I had to represent who got charged with tax evasion because they didn't pay tax on guess what?
Campaign funds.
No, the proceeds from armed robberies. You rob a bank and they prove that you stole $15,000, you owe IRS taxes on 15 grand.
Wow. And then two other things. One thing that recently came out, the young guy that she is prosecuting, her office is prosecuting, Young Thug, it has been revealed that she was once his attorney, but we can talk about that one later. The other thing, there was a young gentleman who fell asleep in a Wendy's parking lot during the riots. Rayshard Brooks. He fell asleep and somebody called, he was in the drive-thru and they called the police and he ended up being killed by those two officers. Fanny received a huge contribution or donation from the APD at the time she was running when all this happened. And once she won, she chose not to prosecute that case against those two officers. The city of Atlanta paid the family only $1 million, but she didn't prosecute that case. Now, to what Dana was saying about they need good records, prosecution records or whatever, that's one of the reasons, one of many reasons we lost respect for Funny here. She didn't prosecute those killers. She went after the teachers in Atlanta. If you remember the Fulton County cheating scandal, where the teachers were helping the students who were at an underfunded, under-resourced school with a few questions or whatever on the test. And 11, she did a RICO on these teachers for simply helping under underfunded school.
Well, they were lying about the test scores, but she did a RICO on that, and she convicted. All of them are in prison except for one. They all got prison sentence except for one of them. So
Okay.
Yeah, she is
Yeah.
a bad person, and I'm pretty much looking at this as karma. Uh, Even if they leave her on this case, and I'm surprised Trump's attorneys didn't find this information, or maybe they just hadn't begun to research her yet. But even if he still has to go through this case, and that's what I want you to address. Does if she is removed, does that remove the case entirely, or
What it is it's not her.
okay,
It's the
it's the
district
office?
attorney's office. Like, that's
Gotcha.
what I pointed out years ago when Cosby got convicted. I said, it's not going to stand. He asserted his Fifth Amendment right. The district attorney formally announced there would be no prosecution. The civil judge said, you do not have the Fifth Amendment protection now because you can't be prosecuted. And in a civil case, you have to give testimony. He didn't admit it, but he detailed some things in his deposition he was compelled to answer to, that the prosecution said were irrelevant. But when the next prosecutor came in, she rescinded it and said, I don't care, I'm going after him. So I don't care what my predecessor said, this is what I'm going to do. And they used the deposition as part of their case in chief. Well, it's not an individual, it's the office of district attorney general. It is not the holder, it is the office. And the point is that what they're going after is to remove the Fulton County DA's office from the case. Now, if they remove the office from the case, that's one thing, because it's inextricably tied up with her being the representative. So it's called an inchoate thing, just like a corporate entity. The district attorney's office, Standard Widgets Incorporated, is an entity too, but it acts through its actual people. That means it's an inchoate entity that acts through people. That's the way they define it. Now, the bottom line is they could remove the DA's office. They would certainly remove somebody who now has an interesting thing. If you listen to her, there's an animus that's developed between the two of them, so that might interfere with his ability to prosecute effectively and independently. Or there still exists an amorous thing between the two of them that would compromise the situation. So he's gone. Now, if they get a new office, it may not require that there be a special prosecutor, because you see, also she was campaigning otherwise and getting funds sent to her campaign based on the promise to take down Donald Trump.
mm-hmm.
Now, the thing that's interesting is at the time she was making this promise in 2020, Donald Trump was actively the president of the United States and she was running for office. So there is that conflict of interest that developed, because prosecutors are not just there to prosecute, they're there to serve justice. And that may require, Your Honor, in the interest of justice, the State is recommending that these charges be dismissed against the defendant. State your reasons. And if they're satisfactory and it does not indicate collusion, bribery, or anything inappropriate, the court will say that'll be granted. Now, that's not independence what we have here. So if you get a new attorney general's office involved or district attorney general involved in this, it may not require a special prosecutor. The other thing is they're, of course, going to claim that they have to get up to speed. So instead of them talking about setting a trial date, they're going to have to deal with him getting an opportunity to be familiarized with the case. So that'll put it after this campaign season, which seems to be what we have as an objective on Miss Fani Willis's part. She's sworn to get Donald Trump and she wants to put him to trial. And looking at the indictments, I don't think any one of them is going to stand up if they get all the evidence they claim they have on appeal, because it's an old time demurrer situation. What is a demurrer? Your Honor, defense demurs to this matter. That means that even if everything the state claims is true, even if they prove it, no crime was committed. Or in a civil side, if everything the plaintiff says is true, if they prove it, there is no civil wrong that's actionable that occurred. Move for dismissal. Used to have them all the time. Lawyers don't know about it these days, but it's still on the books, or a version of it these days. They don't know how to work it.
I want to go to the next person. I want to go to Shaw, then Matthew, Adam, Real Queen, Ricky, Dr. Mark, and Live. Who was it? Yeah, Nick. I don't know if you was requesting to speak by accident, but when I brought you up, it was too much noise in the background. I'll bring you up in a second, but go ahead, Shaw.
So, Judge, you're saying that even if this had never happened with Nathan Wade and they were to win on all of their, things they accused Donald Trump of doing, it's still no criminal charge, and therefore it doesn't even mean nothing will happen to Donald Trump. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's not going to stand up on appeal. In other words, the Bill of Rights exists to prevent the United States government from doing what the state of Georgia has against somebody for political purposes. Mm-hmm. The 14th Amendment applies that due process to the states. So what has happened is, just like the governor in the state of New York the other day was talking to businessmen to reassure them after the Trump verdict up there. The governor, rather, even specifically stated this was a politically directed prosecution, so the rest of you have nothing to worry about. Now, let's look at that as an example. The judge was trying this case without a jury. The law requires, since it's often a technical matter that would require a select blue ribbon jury, that the judge is the only trier of fact. His verdict is inconsistent with the proof because there's absolutely nothing in the record to determine that there was fraud committed except accusations by this female district attorney. The bank effectively said, okay, you're charging our customer with writing a bad check. He didn't write a bad check. We cashed it. We got our money. No, you got a bad check. Well, how did we get a bad check? We got the money. Well, I say it's a bad check. Well, at that point, you have no proof it's a bad check. That's just the judge acting an ass. Next thing that happens is, to break it down a little more succinctly, the bank said all of our customers do this. We've done it with him on many occasions. He's always paid us back. We've made a lot of money off of interest. We've charged him. This is our standard operational procedure. We are not victims of any fraud. He says, well, I think you are. Well, who said that he was? Nobody. Okay, Millargo. This is preposterous when you put this value on Millargo. It's only worth $18 million. Now, that's specific. Now, this is a country club, a golf course that has multiple houses around it that are worth more than $18 million a house. So he's saying that the whole center of the complex, in his opinion, and he has not qualified himself as an expert, and he certainly can't be a witness in the case he is the judge over. He's declared without any substantiation from one source that this property, Millargo, that you hear about, the golf course where all of the international celebrities and dignitaries go to play golf, is only worth 18 million. Now, there was a golf course down the street from where I lived in Ojai, California, that was evaluated. Well, hell, the Japanese bought the thing for $65 million. And it wasn't as impressive as Millargo is. So that's $65 million 24 years ago. Now, where does he come off with that? In other words, he's clowning. And he did the same thing that Tammy did. He sat up there on the bench and he made all these faces and rolled his eyes and slapped his head with the palm of his hand like, oh, like, what is wrong? This is not how you run a court. This is not Night Court on TV, the old sitcom they used to have.
You're talking about the judge in New York?
Yes, in New York. See, this is spreading. And then he's about to catch hell. You know why? You seen what's developing? Hell is even on X today. Turns out in a real critical case, he had been having sex with the secretary of one of the lawyers on the losing side and was getting information allegedly from her independently.
Who, the judge out of New York?
Yeah, that's just hit the fan today.
Oh my God. Why you ain't mention this? I could have put this in the title too. But...
Well, I just ran into it between then and now. But the point is, you see, when you
Lord
when you
Jesus,
live, when
why
you
does
live
people
in,
sleep everybody at work?
you see, when you live in glass houses, you don't throw stones. You get it?
All
and
right.
the other
I got
thing
one more
is,
question.
one other remark before I forget it. What is one of the main things that has brought down a whole bunch of people in public life? Bill Clinton, Bill Cosby,
Women.
you know, all kinds of
Sex.
sex. And this woman looked like she was paying for the dick. Either the DJ that was living with her, or on her own testimony, the lawyer who didn't want to be bothered. And by the way, if you want to get a perspective, take a look at his ex-wife that he lost for getting caught fooling around with Fannie, and take a look at Fannie Mae.
Well, the ex-wife is attractive, but I mean, they've been separated since 2015. I know the ex-wife been getting her back blown out. So,
in other words, I'm not saying what you're implying. I'm just saying it's a matter of an acquired taste.
oh, I see what you're saying.
You see it?
Some people
Yeah.
gotta pay for it, where others get wiped up, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, Sha got
last
another question, and then I'm gonna go to Matthew.
So I was hearing these other lawyers in this YouTube channel, and they were saying it only takes perceived wrongdoing of, in this case, the DA, for them to, win, or whatever they're going to do, whatever we're calling this. I guess the district attorney's office loses just based on the least amount of perceived
appearances.
Yeah.
That's what I said earlier. See, when you come to like doctors or dentists, people that have licenses to give them special dispensations, a doctor can prescribe a drug for you that'll get you 25 years in a federal penitentiary. You see, lawyers can do the same thing. So we have to, as hard as it is, and as much as the public hates lawyers, you have to maintain public respect. So it's not just a matter of doing wrong. you have to avoid the appearance of doing wrong. So when there are severe questions and appearances, it's treated as though there was a wrong done, even if it wasn't. It's called in codes of ethics, quote, avoiding the appearance of impropriety, unquote. So certainly what has happened here has significantly reduced the trust of a significant number of people that constitute the public of Georgia and of the population of the United States and the world. So that has to be corrected. So, yeah, there's a great chance they'll be snatched. But Miss Fani, who was not on trial, but just a witness, stupidly got up there and testified in a fashion that incriminated her in tax, criminal, and ethical matters.
All right, I want to go to Matthew, then Adam, then Real Queen Ricky, Dr. Mark live, and I see somebody drew requesting to come up. So go ahead, Matthew.
Yes, I think what you're talking about, isn't that kind of what we all do when we go to court? Is we are in it's a public controversy, right? So you want to avoid public controversy at all costs, and meaning like
no, not controversy. Anybody involved in the process is supposed to avoid the appearance of impropriety. This is for the judge, the prosecutors, the defense lawyers, the clerks, the bailiffs, anybody. Now, what I mean by that also extends to the practice of law. If it looks like it's improper, it's not to be done. And one of the ways to avoid the appearance of impropriety is, Your Honor, before we appoint Mr. Wade, I need to inform the court that we've been having an affair. Or, Your Honor, it was not in existence when you appointed Mr. Wade, but Cupid did his thing and we've got this affair going, so I must candidly disclose it to the court. Now, she could have done that in his chambers in camera where only the judge was privy to it. And he could have said, well, do you think it'll be fair? You can remain fair. I'll have to bring in opposing counsel if we're going to let him stay in this. Or since you brought it to my attention, do you want me to make an independent decision? If I decide I think he can stay on, I'm going to bring opposing counsel in here. Now, if you want it to go there, it'll go there. Or you can agree to withdraw and we can just seal the record as to why. See, she could have done that. Right. And that would have avoided the appearance of something being wrong.
Right. Because when you go to the court, right, you're just arguing facts. That's why they call them fact hearers.
Yeah, she was a witness.
Right. And they say the prosecutor, the judge can't be a witness to something that they're proceeding over.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Oh. You ever heard this thing, the king is dead, long live the king? That means the current king is dead, but there's another king who automatically comes in. He's the designated heir, so the kingship goes on. The king is dead, long live the king. So what happens is Fani Mae or Fani Willis is not the office of Attorney General for the district. She occupies the office. Whether or not she's in it, the position still exists. It just requires somebody to fill it. So the issue in front of the court is whether that office is to be removed. That she holds the office means she's removed. That she's the one in the office binds the office by her conduct. So it ain't nothing personal. It's just you hold this office and the court is to decide whether this office stays on the case or it is to be replaced. So instead of being a witness, you came in here and put yourself in it personally. And when you put it in there personally, you violated a cardinal rule of being a lawyer. The lawyer that represents himself is said to have either a fool for a client or a fool for a lawyer. And she jumped herself up in there, got emotional, put on a display about what's going on. And lawyers I know, old line trial lawyers, are going, my God, doesn't the woman realize what she's doing? Has she never heard of the Fifth Amendment? She got herself to this point, and the only way to extricate herself is to say, based on the situation, I am compelled to decline to answer that on the grounds it might tend to incriminate me. Now, that would be a scandal, but you're not likely to get criminally charged by IRS for tax evasion.
Right.
One last thing. I'm saying, so sorry, just cut you. I'm saying, so like with all this going on, and you think she would know this, right? And
you would think, wouldn't you?
Right. So like, I know when news is for profit, reality is for sale.
Yeah, that's true too. That's a good saying. When news is for profit, reality is for sale.
Right.
That's good. Publish that on X.
I should. No, but like, so like, do you think like?
No, I'm serious. While you're talking,
all right.
Well, if you don't,
repost
I
it, I'll do it. If you repost it, I'll do that. But yeah.
Say it again so everybody can hear it.
I said, if news is for profit, reality is for sale.
There you go.
You know, it's like it is what we perceive it to be. You know, because they're telling us. But like, if you clearly see something that ain't going properly, and you know this lady is in the position she's in to do the things that a normal person would, why would she do it? And you got to think to yourself, maybe it's something else going on, you know. But I know that's just the whole conspiracy you can go down. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Thank you, Judge, for letting me talk. And Daniel,
that was profound, son.
No, I listen. I wrote it down, so, and I'm gonna retweet it myself.
Give him credit.
Of course, maybe, but no, I'll give him credit. But you should, Matthew, retweet it, tag the judge in it, so he could repost it. Tag me in it too. All right, Adam, then Real Queen, Ricky, Dr. Mark, Live, Derek, Kobe. Go ahead, Adam.
Dana, Judge, I hope you're both doing well today. It's an honor to be back up here again with you guys.
Yeah, it's been a minute, Adam.
Yeah, hey, I got to hear you go off in Luke's space last night. You know, I followed him when I first joined X, because, you know, I remember Luke as somebody that fought for freedom of speech back in the 90s as far as his rapping goes. And his, you know, it was kind of filthy, but, you know, I was young at the time, like 17 and such, and I'd hear it in the club. But yeah, yeah, great job last night. And Judge, I have a question for you. It's separate. Is it okay if I ask a question about the New York case?
Yeah, it's related. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you know, I see here. You know, I'm wondering, does somebody, like, well, I stated this to somebody. I said, who did Trump commit fraud against that filed a complaint under oath? From my understanding, somebody has to file a complaint under oath, right?
Yeah.
Who and if it's New York, wouldn't that be a conflict of interest, considering they would be the beneficiary of the case as well?
Here's the thing. The district attorney, another female black who comes across much like Fani Willis, Ms. Fani Willis, investigated, and decided to bring these charges. There is no complainant because she went to a grand jury, and she effectively said Donald Trump wrote a bad check to this bank. And probable cause can come from one-sided and from an opinion. I think there's probable cause, ladies and gentlemen of the grand jury, that this man committed fraud. You don't hear the other side. And if they take the word of or just lend credence to the informant, they can indict. So what happens is there was no complaint from anybody. The victim said they weren't victimized. It was just a standard procedure. Or let's get to that other thing in there up in New York, the criminal case. They've indicted Trump and his companies or one of his companies, for bribing Stormy Daniels to be quiet and not embarrass him. Well, obviously, these people didn't listen to the first year law class that they were in, because you flip the script to test something. If somebody's got to pay somebody to keep them quiet, what do you call that? That's blackmail. So, in other words, the state made an excellent blackmail or extortion case against Stormy Daniels, but they decided to stupidly say, we're going to indict the victim of the blackmail for paying her to be quiet. All right? If you have to do that to keep someone from telling on you or embarrassing you or whatever it is, you've been blackmailed. So the state of New York indicted the victim of a felony blackmail. Next thing, you indict the corporation for failure to file a complete report on what the payment to Stormy Daniels was. Well, there was a settlement involved, and the court had a gag order. So if the corporation had filed a detailed report of why the payout was there in a public record, they would have violated the court order demanding that nobody say anything. So you indicted a corporate entity for following the orders of a court. You're really way off the deep end. In other words, okay, if you got a case on somebody, fine, go after them. But you don't get to speak for 360 million people, more or less, in the United States who are known to be here legally, and decide what their choices are going to be. Florida, we see the juxtaposition between the special prosecutor, her, saying, okay, Joe Biden broke the law. There's grounds to indict, but we'll use our prosecutorial discretion because he's a doddering old man, and a jury would be sympathetic to him. What he did with the records, he had no authority. But the president of the United States, under the Constitution, as the chief diplomatic officer of the country and as the commander in chief of the country, has absolute discretion to classify or declassify in whole, in part, for any reason and any fashion he chooses. Now, that was decided in 1988. The case is U.S. Department of Navy versus Egan. And if you read the many concurring opinions, they say that's why he has absolute authority. Also, he has a continuing duty as a fiduciary to the United States, which is to protect his interest. And there is a high probability that what's in those records incriminates the Obama administration and Joe Biden. So they have a law that says the archivist can come in and demand, and the president has to. Well, the president has said that was unconstitutional. So what is the rule on that? How old is that rule? 221 years old. 221 years ago, in 1803, in a landmark U.S. Supreme Court case, unanimous. The case is known as Marbury versus Madison. Marbury was appointed as Postmaster General, and President Madison said, hell no, that statute's unconstitutional. They can't make me. So they took him to court. He went up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court said courts can declare acts of Congress unconstitutional if challenged, and the president has no obligation to follow them. So, in so much is that statute that requires him to be subject to the okay of the archivist of the country, that is unconstitutional because it deprives a constitutional officer, the president, of designated constitutional authority. So that's said out like I would tell a first year law student. But see, this is going on, so we have the First
Well,
Amendment.
can I ask you something real quick, Judge?
Go ahead.
Because what you just laid out, me and everybody else in the world and society, we don't understand that. But so,
In
so,
other words,
so,
what it is this. It's like when they went after Trump first time for impeachment, one of the grounds was obstructing Congress. Well, the president can only be impeached for three things: bribery, treason, and treason is defined in the Constitution, the only criminal offense, and committing while in office a misdemeanor or a felony. So, is obstructing Congress a misdemeanor or felony? No, it is not.
okay.
So, what did he do? It wasn't bribery, it wasn't treason. And if it wasn't a designated felony or misdemeanor, what the hell are they going on? They just didn't realize that, wow, we whoopee. And then we got another check on that one. See, they forgot that the first article in the Constitution that says Congress shall consist of two chambers, the House of Representatives and the Senate. So people commonly associate Congress, congressman, a member of the House, and forget about the Senate. Soon as the charges went over to the Senate, since they are half of Congress, all they had to do, since it was a partisan composition of Republicans that were the majority, guys, did you feel obstructed? Even if that had been an offense, do you feel obstructed? Hell no.
Mhm.
Well, you didn't obstruct one half of Congress, so you can't say you have a case against this man for obstructing Congress. So it's out of here.
Um,
Can I throw a follow-up question if you
yeah,
don't
one
mind,
second. Let
Dana?
me just say this. I
Sure.
just want to say hello to everybody on YouTube as well. There's a lot of people in here, 1,300. Bob says they are accusing treason without trial. So,
Yeah, we haven't even got to that.
right. All
That's
right.
what happened when they tried to remove him from the ballot in Colorado. During the argument, several of the justices said, insurrection is a crime. Well, yes, obviously he's coming. Wait a minute. Where is the charging instrument? Did Mr. Trump get charged with insurrection? Well, no. Well, has he gone to trial? No. Did he have an open and speedy public trial before a jury? No. Was there a jury verdict of guilt? No. Well, then
Right.
how are you going to punish him for something nobody's proved he's done? Well, it seems that no, wait a minute. Due process of law. No one shall be deprived of life, liberty, property, and liberty rights include running for office. That's been held. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Where is the due process of law? Well, we decide you can't do that. There's got to be a public and speedy trial. There was none. There's not even a charging instrument. So get out of here.
Right. Go ahead, Adam, with the follow up. And I just want the speakers to know, I want everybody to understand that I want people to be able to ask or say, everything that they need to ask or say. So I don't want to seem like I'm rushing you. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, as far as the lawyers or prosecutors going after Trump right now, I'd say Jack Smith is the worst. He's the person that I like the least out of all of them. But and he's a white dude, right? So it's not about color or anything like that. So, but the follow-up question is, how do you think that how do you think this is going to affect real estate in New York? People are already running away because of taxes, high state taxes. With this sort of threat toward business, who's going to buy property in New York? Who's going to go and invest in New York? And it's sad because I remember the Big Red Apple is I love New York growing up, and I used to go to New York all the time.
Well, it certainly doesn't help New York. And you guys, if you live in New York, you've got a problem. It's been so captured by interests that have a social agenda that they're trying to advance that the law has suffered. It's gotten entirely too complex. There are simple codes that depend upon people having developed over the years an expertise in the subject and developed wisdom and have commonly displayed common sense. And when you apply common sense, wisdom, knowledge, and experience, you get a pretty good result. So the interesting thing is this agenda that seems to be so concerned with everybody's feelings and everything else has a fundamental flaw. It is premised on not trusting people, which seems like a great contradiction with where they claim to come from. So, in the process of not trusting people, they've tried to make specification after specification after specification. Now, high finance and business is very complex, so there are some specific laws to deal with it. Those have developed. But the problem is you get judges in who do not sit with juries, who are now charged with administering things that once used to be left up to the people that dealt with each other when it didn't impact anybody else. So this judge, who has no acumen in heavy finance, has decided that he's going to take it on himself to castigate somebody for what he feels is a violation of somebody else's rights, also in the industry, who says this is the way we always do it. So you get a ridiculous mess. No retreat. Okay, what about guys with his family and his arthritic mother-in-law is with him? So no retreat. You have to turn around and run and leave your mama-in-law and your grandchildren there? Or can you stand your ground and defend her? You see, all of these things are considerations of real world stuff that are abandoned by people who don't have common sense. So New York has too many of those things that have come in because somebody's pushing a select agenda and they don't care. And that's how.
Well, thank you for the answer, Judge Dana. Thank you for having me up. God bless you both. Always an honor.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate
Yes,
you.
sir.
I'm gonna go to Real Queen, then Ricky, Dr. Mark, Live JD, Derek, Kobe Cash, and Hitler did not do it. I see you requesting. Just sit tight. But please don't come up in here with no trolling mess, honey. Go ahead, Real Queen.
Okay, Dana and Judge, it's always an honor to speak amongst you. Now, my first point is there are two types of Black people in this world, niggas and then Black people. Okay, so the Ray Sharp Brooks topic. Okay, Ray Sharp was wrong. He tried to take away a cop's taser. That's why he got shot and killed. So, to Fanny's credit, she handled that correctly. To niggas, disliking of her, not so much. Now, Fanny coming into the court talking about, oh, I'm ready to go and all this BS, rolling her neck and be a hood rat and ghetto and ratchet and talking all that crap just proves that it's not white folks who are eager and ready and willing to mistreat Black folks. It's the other way around because she was disgusting in her demeanor, disrespectful, and out of pocket. Whereas the white lady who prosecuted her, examined her, and questioned her, the judge, all the white people in the case were cordial, professional, treated her well. So this just proves that race card crap that, oh, there's always the white man. And also I'll close by saying, she threw Black people on the bus when she said, oh, those gangs made her feel threatened. And she had to move from, where was it? Where was it? Where in Fulton County, Georgia or something? For Black folks
That's
didn't
Atlanta. That's
catch.
Atlanta.
Yeah, somewhere in Atlanta, she said they made her uncomfortable. Black folks didn't catch that though. So I'm
I
happy she
did.
got caught. Yeah, I did too. I'm happy she got caught. She's full of crap. She's misrepresenting Black women and Black people. And God is good all the time. Salute.
Okay.
Okay. Appreciate
Well
it.
said.
All right, Ricky.
What's up, Dana? What's up, Judge?
Hey.
All right.
Now, we do need to stop being so hard on Black people, but that's another story, right? Regarding this case, we saw Sidney Powell. We saw.
By the way, let me make one specific correction. It's not a case. This was a motion that was an administrative motion. Nobody is on trial. That's what's so ridiculous about this. She was just a witness to something like, okay, the defendants say this is the wrong venue. This happened in Cobb County, not Fulton County. So the proper jurisdiction is in Cobb County, not Fulton. That's not a trial. That's just an administrative matter. So nobody's on trial right now.
But specifically regarding the Trump trial, right?
Oh, Trump. Well, yeah, but this is a peripheral matter. In other words, they're arguing something like, will this be a sequestered jury or will the jury be allowed to go home? That's got nothing to do with the merits of the underlying case. They're simply saying that right now it would be inappropriate to allow this district attorney's office to continue. That's not a trial. That is an administrative matter, and that's up to the judge.
And my question was a little bit broad, right?
Go ahead.
Now, these attorneys, Sidney Powell, Chesbrough, and everybody, they were involved with 2020, right? And they came out, they made grand pronouncements. They said that they had, that they were sure they were going to win the case and they were going to prove it. And then they kind of fell apart, right? And they kind of embarrassed themselves. And I feel like they were not doing their best, right? And then when the charges come, when the charges finally come a few months ago, they all take the plea right away. They all take pleas right away. So why would these attorneys, they're all seasoned attorneys, and they're taking these pleas right away, right? The way this thing kind of fell apart, I feel like they were all in on it, and this thing is like rigged. And I wanted to get your opinion on that because this is some really bad lawyering for some amazing lawyers, right? All of them are seasoned, but they've made all these mistakes and they're taking pleas right away. This just doesn't look right. I think they're all in on it.
No, it's not all in on it. What's happening is this. Right now in the penitentiary system, and it has been the case for the last 50 years or so, 97+% of the people in the penitentiaries pled guilty. A little more than 2% got convicted by a jury. I have, as a defense lawyer, begged clients to go to trial, but they were scared. I have sat on the bench and tried to persuade a defendant to go to trial because they shouldn't plead guilty. Now, in the interest of justice, fast forward, had they been convicted under the circumstances, I had the authority to set the verdict aside and reset it for another trial, and they'd get another shot at it. But they were too scared to go to trial, or they felt they hadn't paid their attorney, or there's something they didn't want to come out because they've got a case called Alford versus North Carolina. It's 60 years old. It stands for this proposition. A defendant who is actually innocent may plead guilty in spite of that reality, so long as he's doing it freely, voluntarily, understandingly, knowingly, advisedly, and intelligently with advice of counsel, and he believes it's in his best interest to do so, so long as the state otherwise has a reasonable factual basis upon which to proceed. I know that well because that was the basis of James Earl Ray's last set of proceedings heard in front of me. So what happens is many people plead.
All right, what happened? Can you
Many people plead guilty.
Can you tell people stop calling you?
Yeah, well, I've got it on Do Not Disturb. But anyway, many people plead guilty because they don't have the nerve to step up to the plate and take a swing. They're scared of the system. Even some of the bad folk gangsters, OGs. They're scared to the point of peeing on themselves, literally, to deal with it. You hear OGs talking about it. Yeah, they stood up, they trying to put a case on me. And you're back there either as the defense lawyer representing him and you're looking at the video, or you're the judge reviewing the video of the confession. And this dude is blowing snot all over the table. He's crying and bawling for his mama. And I'll tell you the thing, well, let me tell you my mom. And he's crying and using up a box of Kleenex. And they're trying to get him to take a moment and go talk to a lawyer because it's a serious case. And he's scared to do it. And nobody's threatening him. And you're like, oh, wow, this dude out here is going for bad as an OG, and he punked out. And I was looking at him, snotted all up, blue tears all over the table, wet everything up because he cried for his mama. See, this is stuff people don't tell you. Oh, I bought this case. Lying through his teeth. He didn't buy any case. You represented him. I got the case dismissed for him on a technicality. It wasn't but 3 joints. Damn. He's sitting up here trying to talk about he got 15 pounds of herb. See, people lie to improve their station, or they just lying. I wasn't even there. They trying to put a case on me. Well, they have all these witnesses who say this are in 2 and 3. He lied. He know he was lying. Why is he lying? Because he was trying to light up a cigarette. He couldn't have seen me behind the dumpster. Well, I thought you weren't there. Well, I wasn't there because you wasn't supposed to see me. But you were there.
Mm-hmm.
See how this goes? And I mean, it's like people want to save face. They don't want you to know they punked out. Oh, that seems to be proper nowadays. Why'd you run? I was scared of the police. Oh, come on.
All right.
Quit punking out.
Anything else, Rick? I want to go to Dr. Mark. Anything else, Ricky?
Just would you have advised any of those attorneys to take the plea so quickly in this case?
It is. Look, what happens is the judge just can't say you plead guilty. Yeah, no, he's got to close.
Damn, they really must want to talk to him today.
The judge has to closely examine the defendant. It sometimes takes about 15 minutes to take a plea of guilty to determine whether he is freely, voluntarily, understandingly, knowingly, advisedly, and intelligently entering his plea of guilty with an understanding that it's in his best interest. See, some people don't want to spend 10, 20, 30, 50, 80, 100, 200, 600,000, $700,000 defending stuff. They can't afford it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they just don't want to deal with it. You'd be better off if you were broke, busted. You get the public defender's office. And I say this, most of the time, from what I experienced being on the bench, the public defender gives a much better defense than 90% of the private attorneys, most of whom have very little experience. They're rookies essentially in the courtroom. And that's another problem we've got in America right now. Too many lawyers who are supposed to be expert, this, that, and the other, are essentially rookies because they don't have the trial experience. You heard John Floyd say, oh, I've had 1,000 trials at least. Me, I've had several thousand trials. And you have people that are senior members of law firms that in 26 years, they've had 5 trials. And you have people 5, 6, 10 years out of law school, never had one. They've argued 3 motions.
All right. I want to go to Dr. Mark.
Hey, Dana, what's up?
Hi.
Hey, Judge, good talking to you. So me and Dana, we were in another room yesterday, and I just couldn't. Please clarify for everybody and myself. The issue is not the Trump lawyers having to prove that she benefited financially. It's just proving that this romantic relationship started before the case and she failed to disclose it. Am I correct in understanding that?
Appropriately, yes.
Okay.
But what happened is that there's also another inference based on her defense to this accusation because she took it personally, which is, you don't do that.
She talked about her financial situation and made it relevant. She resisted being removed, and she forced it into a position where all of this was coming out. All she had to do on the front end, especially since they seemed to have broken up, after that woman's conversation she had, is just say, all right, we concede. If we might have a discussion of this in camera, that means confidentially, and the court seals the record so nobody finds out about it. Yeah, we had a thing, and probably you should have reported it up front, or once it got to develop, it was embarrassing, and he was going through a divorce, and it just wasn't, we didn't know how to handle it. We apologized, and the judge could have admonished her, and that would have been the end of it, and nobody would have known anything. She just took this blockheaded sister girl getting done in by, and they trying to, why you want to hold on to this case? There's a whole lot of extra work. It exposes you to a whole lot of stuff. It's not you personally, fool. It's about the state versus this man or these 16 co-defendants.
And then next question, because I look at it as a trend, right? So we look at Letitia James, Alvin Braggs, and you have Fani, right? They're all district attorneys. They're all black. Previously to Alvin Bragg, at least, like the DA did not want to even pursue it. And what I know about DAs is, Kamala Harris used to be a DA, and a lot of them have like these political aspirations. So, one, do you think that there are plenty of DAs who deep down know like this case would eventually get overturned? It could hurt them for any future political aspirations, and therefore that would be problematic in potentially finding a replacement for Fani, somebody to try this case. And then two, I mean, these cases, as far as I can see, they're really preposterous, with new legal theories and whatnot. But it just seems like the DNC is happy to put like a black face to try this case. And I feel like it's truthful, one, to have a scapegoat when it doesn't come to fruition, and two, like during the whole argument, they could hide behind the argument of race. I just want your opinion.
Yeah, that's what's going on. See, we have too many people in the legal profession. It's something people aspire to, but we have too many lawyers right now, and that drives the fees up. Why? Because they have to charge higher fees to keep their doors open. They don't get enough volume to be able to make it on business. It's like you go to a major grocery store, the prices are a lot less than if you go to a mom and pop corner store, convenience store, they call it. You pay extra for your convenience. No, you pay extra because of scale. They don't sell enough. Now, what's going on is you got a lot of people who are hacks who have other ambitions. And you have two kinds of prosecutors. You have hacks. That ranges from a conscientious hack like Dewey, who prosecuted Lucky Luciano, the gangster. And once he got to be New York governor as a stepping stone from his prosecutorial notoriety, he wound up working out a deal with Lucky Luciano to save the docks from fascists saboteurs during World War II and got him deported. Or like you saw, Russell Crowe played the part in the movie, and Denzel played the character, the gangster that had the heroin trade locked up in New York. What happened? When he got out of the DA's office, the character that Russell Crowe played, he defended the guy. See, it's not personal in lawyer. That's what, when you're a lawyer, it's objectivity. That's what you're hiring a lawyer for. So what I see with this trend, Kamala Harris, I was out there when she was a DA in San Francisco and state attorney general for California. And I talked to a lot of guys I recruited to law school years ago, had to practice in front of her. She was just like Fani, same kind of attitude. She looked a little better and used to hike her skirt up a little bit more. But Same kind of thing. Same kind of thing with this woman in New York, or Stacey Abrams in Georgia running for governor. Same kind of attitude. The Democratic Party seems to be seeking this kind of attitude, which to me is very reminiscent of what you would expect from a third floor house wench in a plantation house in Antebellum South. In other words, it's inappropriate. It's emotionally driven. It's ambition driven.
I
It's
love how you
ego
gave
driven.
that description. Like
Yeah.
you took me back to Gone with the Wind, and it's perfect description.
Yeah. So they're essentially Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, this whole kind of thing. Now, let me say this. I won a lot of cases trying against female prosecutors like Miss Fani here. What you did, it was a trick. You got them trying to beat you, prove that they could beat you. And for the whole case, they're concentrating on trying to get one up on you, embarrass you, show out at your expense. And guess what they're forgetting to do? Try the case. So you concentrate on trying the case, and by the time the proof ends and you're arguing to the jury, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, you saw the prosecutor here. I was being polite, but she tried to beat me. She's been so busy trying to beat me and show out in front of you, she forgot one thing, the case. So she hasn't proved anything. She hasn't established any of the elements, certainly not beyond a reasonable doubt. And I'd walk, never lost. But now there's some women that are excellent. There's one judge right now, female, who was a fine prosecutor in my courtroom. Another one who was a full-time PD in my courtroom. She's a judge too. There is another judge that's on the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals for the United States I mentored. There are quite a few judges, female, I mentored. They're fine lawyers. They had dignity. They even could put on verve, swerve, and be entertaining and get the jury's interest, but they didn't act that kind of folk. And the ones that acted the fool are not good prosecutors because they lose too many cases because they piss the jury off. And if you ever get a chance to look at some of the actual footage of the OJ trial, you'll see one good reason, counter to what Nancy, what's her name, Nancy Grace put out. The prosecutors, Joe Darden and Marcia Clark, pissed the jury off. The jury was so mad at them, they were almost spitting on the ground. So, I mean, you don't do that. Something is wrong with you. So I saw a piss poor, I've been in this business for more than a half century. I got elected to 2 8-year terms as a criminal court judge. I tried 42 first-degree murder cases as defense counsel, death penalty demanded. None of my clients on death row. Whole bunch of more murder cases. I had thousands of cases. I used to run the public defender's office at one time before that. This was one of the most sorry presentations I've ever seen a lawyer do. And I am totally embarrassed as a professional to have had to look at that.
All right, I want to go to live JD, then Derek, then Colby, and then I want to bring another element. Then I'm going to go to some super chats and YouTube, and I want to bring another element into this conversation. Go ahead, live. Is it live or live?
Whatever you want, sweetheart.
Okay.
Hey, so Dr. Mark answered the first question I had, and I was curious, Judge Joe Brown, what you think about all the stuff that's going on right now, if it's going to set like president law or common law into the books, meaning people behind Trump can fall into that trap. And I got a second question when you get done with that.
Judge?
Yes, I'm here.
Did you hear his question?
I didn't hear his question. No, I didn't.
Okay, go ahead. Say it again.
Hey, you got me?
I can't hear anything.
Hear me, Judge Joe Brown?
Okay, he can't hear you. Okay, Judge, you're going to have to drop down and come back up. I guess whoever was calling you kind of knocked it out.
I can hear some other people, but I can't hear him.
Can you hear me?
I hear you fine.
Okay. Wait, I want somebody else to unmute and say something. I want to see if the judge can hear another speaker. Somebody unmute.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, so then it's you live. Then can you drop down and come right back up, because I think it's you and not the judge. Say something else live. Live live. I just want to say JD.
I don't hear him.
Okay, all right. So JD, drop down and come right back up. And then I'll bring you right up. You don't have to wait. Okay. So I don't want to go to Derek, because I don't want to have to cut Derek off to come back to JD. So I'm just gonna wait.
Get Derek.
Oh, get Derek? Okay. Well, I'll go to Derek. And then if you drop down and come back up, I'll come back to you after Derek. Go ahead, Derek.
Evening, Judge and Dana. I just wanted to kind of touch on some things with Fani Willis. As I was saying yesterday, we were in this space yesterday, and I was just showing how I was talking about how, just pitiful Fani Willis's representation was. She didn't even have a clue. I think how much hot quicksand she stepped in, and then it's funny because her father was supposed to be a criminal attorney, if I'm not mistaken, and I mean, wouldn't he have taught her better? It just seems like.
Let's put it this way. Children don't always listen to their parents. And I know John Floyd personally and consider him a friend. We went to school together for 8 years or so. I've known him since we've been about 19 years of age. And he's down, brother. He was there with the cars. He went out on community patrols, and he was right there when some doors needed to be kicked in, literally, to get stuff together to establish rights for people. He's nobody to trifle with. He's a smart man. He doesn't play, but he understands the rules of engagement. You step on the mat to go fight, you bow to each other, or boxers touch hands and come out your corners. He understands that. So yeah, I'd say
Right.
that. Yeah, he knows what's going on.
Yeah, and I just think that she's missing out on a great resource. That was just, you would swear that she didn't have a parent that was an attorney, But I also wanted to touch on one more thing, and I had a question. The other guy, Adam, was in there talking about earlier about how do he think New York would be affected, and with people open business. I'm gonna just say this. I haven't been to New York in a long time, but I just see what's happening right now. Whereas I believe that the globalists, these people at the top, well, that it's involved with Soros and all of that. I believe that they're slowly trying to take these major cities, and that's how you take a country down. They're taking the major cities down, the major cities of commerce, like New York and California and Chicago and all these places. And if I'm a business person, if I'm trying to open up a business or corporation, I wouldn't go there. Like, that would be the last place, because they're literally flooding with migrants and crime, and it's out of control. But I want to ask you one question, and then I'll get off. You see, this was happening with Letitia James, which she's the co-conspirator behind all of this Fani stuff. But now she's trying to enforce that Donald Trump is going to have to pay the whole $355 million before he even goes in appeal, or she's going to go ahead and start confiscating his properties in New York. How can that play out?
She can't do that, because
I figured that.
Yeah, the Court of Appeals will stay. It'll be an interlocutory appeal in any event, which means everything's locked until the appeal is decided. I'll give you another example of what you saw. I forget the woman's name, but there was a black female judge who was on the bench, and she did something to help her brother out. And she went to trial, and she got convicted and sentenced in 2014. Over the last 9.5 years, the case has been on appeal. It's been through the state process several times and up through the federal system. And it didn't go to the Supreme Court. They sent it back from the feds to execute the sentence. So when they go down to execute the sentence, everybody's talking about they're against the black woman and everything else. And it's the sorry spectacle of a black female bailiff having to drag this fool out with her heels dragging on the ground, holding her around the chest because she won't walk out. She just going acting a fool. But it's been going on for 10 years. It didn't have anything to do with black. She helped her brother out, giving inside information to him she shouldn't have. And it was criminal for her to disclose what she did. So she got convicted. She got the sentence. And it was even crazier because you know what the prosecution was arguing? The regular prosecutor, not the special prosecutor. The prosecution that was assigned the case, not the special prosecutor, filed a motion to intervene. You know what it was, Your Honor? This woman maybe does not need to go to prison. She needs a mental evaluation. Please have a mental evaluation conducted before sentencing her. And she clowned and went on about this. And she wound up having to serve the time. It's just like you don't let emotionalism interject itself in this process.
Okay, I guess that was the question Derek had. Kobe Cash. Kobe Cash. Kobe Cash, unmute. I know you've been sitting there for a minute. I don't. Maybe he done got on a phone with somebody. And this is the thing with spaces. You kind of could walk away because you're like, it's gonna be a minute before they get to me because there's other people ahead of me. So Kobe, you can unmute. I don't hear anything. Where is okay? I don't know what happened to JD.
Hey,
Kobe.
Chad. Hey.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I was here for a while, but I stuck it through.
You have a question or a statement?
Oh yeah. Nah, really. I was just coming in to say what's up to the chat and everything, and shout out Judge O'Brown barbecue sauce. That's some good stuff. Y'all make sure, y'all go log in with that on the website, get an order and ASAP because it you won't regret it. It's better than Sweet Baby Ray. I'm letting y'all know that now. It's worth
I concur.
It's worth the price. Whatever the ticket is right now, it's worth it. If he giving out a deal, you better go get it at will.
Thank you for the advertisement. Appreciate it. Yeah, I put the link in the Jumbotron. I'm gonna also put it in the comments section. You could get it on Amazon. You could go straight to the website, and it's really delicious. On the website, you can get the chicken links and all the other seasoning and stuff. But so yeah, pick up that Judge O'Brown barbecue sauce. All right, I'm gonna bring another factor into this conversation. And anyone want to request to come up, please do so. The people that's already up here, if you want to say something again, just raise your hand. I'll come back to
I
you.
have one more question though. Okay, so based on Fani or whatever, do you guys think that the case with YSL, do you think that case will somewhat be dismissed or because it's just been a whole type of circus with that. So, I want to see how you guys feel about that.
What do you mean? Is it going to be dismissed?
Because we have.
Do you want to ask the judge? Do he thinks that the case is going to be dismissed?
Yeah, what do you guys think? What's gonna be the outcome of this situation?
It depends on who winds up prosecuting. See, this is the thing. Prosecutors have, under American and English law, absolute prosecutorial authority to decide who gets prosecuted, unless a grand jury intervenes and independently indicts somebody. And if the prosecutor cannot in good conscience prosecute, then a special counsel is brought in. All kinds of things happen. But now, a new prosecutor's office may say, using the logic of the federal U.S. Attorney's Office, who made the decision, we feel that under the circumstances, it would be inappropriate to continue the prosecution because there have been real questions that arose concerning this last election. For whatever merit may be assigned to those contentions, we think that this is too much connected with politics. Therefore, we decline to prosecute. That'd be the end of it. And everybody's happy. Let the American people decide what's going to go on. Because I read, there are 92 pages in this indictment. I downloaded them. And do you know 5 counts in the indictment have to do with Trump recommending to his followers that they read or look at Newsmax? When did that become a crime? And some of the RICO elements, hell, she can arguably be said to have done stuff that's covered under the RICO statutes in Georgia that she testified to gratuitously.
All right. I want to bring in another factor in this. Actually, let me go and hi YouTubers. Mute. So Bob says, has it always been this corrupt? And I guess he's talking about DA prosecutor's office. I'm going to say yes. Bob, and again on YouTube, didn't Fani decide to testify against her counsel? Yes, she did. And that's when she walked in there, slapped the paper on the desk, and said, "No, I want to talk." When he was trying.
That was so ridiculous, Dana. The lawyers were doing well on an argument that she had no need to testify.
Right. Thank you to RJ. He says all of the plea deals are diversions, what Nathan Wade is used to doing. No convictions so far, and all charges are likely to be expunged. I don't know are you referring this to Donald Trump's situation or just their caseload in that DA's and Fani Willis DA office? So yeah, all the plea deals are diversions, no convictions so far, and all charges are likely to be expunged.
Who are you talking about?
I don't know. This was a super chat. So RJ, can you classify exactly who you're talking about in regards to that? I see someone requested. Okay, I'm gonna get you in a second, Kyle. I want to bring this factor into the conversation because nobody didn't bring up race until Fani brought up race when she was sitting in, I guess, the witness chair or whatever. And why would she bring up race, right? The race factor. And the thing is, okay, so since you brought up race, Fani, we are going to talk about the race factor as like me and you did onto how she displayed herself, which is a stereotype, but she displayed herself in the negative stereotype of the angry Black woman. She brought up race. If this was a white woman prosecutor, I would still be eating off of Karen ass. I will be dragging Karen. My title would say smoking on that Karen pack today. So for me, it's not about race. It is about a corrupt DA office that we have seen throughout the decades here in this nation in different cities. She's no different. So when you're in that position, it doesn't matter what your color is. You are representing the state. You're supposed to be representing the people, but the politics behind it is what you are representing. I'll mute up, Judge. I need you to mute for a second. And so
I'm not saying anything.
I know, but just mute. I'll send you a text. Just mute. And so when I want to bring the race factor in it, because even when people hold Twitter spaces or even when people are holding YouTube shows, and they're saying Fani, the Black woman standard, the modern Black woman, the Black feminist, black. She brought up Black. We don't have to indulge. And now, even if she didn't bring up race, Black people would still allude to race, and then some people will try and hop on that train. But this has nothing to do with race. The only race issue is, why was she bringing up to have that as an excuse, thinking that it will work in her favor? And two, why would you display all of the negative stereotypes that people try to sometimes pass on Black people as a whole? You know, that's the problem that I have. But other than that, she's part of that entity that have put away a lot of innocent people throughout this nation. More so poor people, because they don't have the money to hire good representation, right? She's the bad. She works for, I would say, the bad guy. That's how, which may be a stereotype to the DA offices, but a lot of times that's who they are. And whether you're in New York City, because those DA offices up there are so damn corrupt, right? So you talk about an office of corruption. That's who you represent, an office of corruption. And I'm tired of Black people in these positions using race to get sympathy and get support from Black people. And Black people need to stop falling for that shit, because we have to look at who she is representing and what agenda she is upholding, right? So I kind of want to bring that in. I see 3 people requesting to come up. Oh, Dr. Mark must drop down. Kylie. Nick, honey, you had something, you had some noise, and I don't know what that was about. But let me go to Kaylee.
Callie.
Sorry,
Yep.
Callie.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Judge Brown, can you hear me?
Judge, unmute.
Let me unmute. Dana,
Okay.
mute. Yes, I can hear you, ma'am. I hear
Okay. Okay, thank you. Dana, I was listening yesterday. The problem is that they would pull me up as a speaker, and then nobody could hear me, so I just kept dropping out. But anyway, Derek was in there as well, and I just wanted to let you guys know that just listening in and seeing what your guys' ideas and thoughts are and so forth, and it's been very compelling what your guys' ideas are and how you are choosing to have a dialogue to talk about the situation, or multiple situations, as we know there's not just a single one. I heard Judge Brown mentioned earlier. I was going to say this yesterday, but I mentioned it yesterday, but I'm glad that he said it today so that I can come back on that. When he mentioned the OJ trial with the prosecution and things like that, I have always been one of those crazy white girls that, in my opinion, I always thought that he did not do that himself. I always thought that he was innocent, but not to say that he wasn't guilty by association, but they didn't try it like that. So I took a lot of flack for backing him, and it wasn't just because I was a football journalist, sports journalist, or anything like that, and I was a fan of OJ. I listened every day to that trial. And so with that being said, and getting into the courtrooms and trying to educate myself on different cases, I just thought, I just think that listening to your guys' dialogue and everything helps me. And with Judge Brown, I guess what I would ask is, when you're talking about the professionalism and the ethics within being a lawyer, that the ethics belong to, are under the understanding or the oath to the ABA. Do I understand that correctly? Just as far as ethics and conduct, is there a contract to that, or is that under the ABA?
No, it's not American Bar Association, National Bar Association, or anything like that. They publish a canon of ethics,
And the state legislatively or by mandate of the state Supreme Court adopts those codes. So every state has a code of conduct when it comes to attorney and judicial conduct. So if you deviate from them, every state has a mechanism set up so that there is discipline that can be imposed, sanction that can be imposed for violation of the codes of ethics. You see, the codes of ethics are important because doctors, lawyers, dentists, and such like can do things nobody else does because they have been sworn to uphold the law and tested, or sworn and tested to be competent, at least superficially, in doing it. You can get a class 1 drug prescribed to you by a doctor that'll get you 25 years in jail if you try to get without his prescription. A
Gotcha.
lawyer can tell you something, and if you do it, the lawyer's responsible, not you. All right. The public hates lawyers anyway. What did Shakespeare say? If you want progress, first thing you do, kill all the lawyers. That was 500 years ago. So we still have these problems because lawyers are experts in how the system works, and they can do things ordinarily people cannot do, which causes them to be upset. So there is this scrupulous attention paid to lawyers' conduct. Human beings being what they are, and lawyers being humans, there are always deviances from that kind of standard. And you saw it with Miss Fanny.
Okay.
But that's why you have the canons of ethics.
Okay, so as a journalist, we would have the same, we have ethics as well. We're supposed to be objective and accurate and, ethical and things like that. And if we misprint something, or if there's too many things within the story that needs edited, you get in trouble. But the media is that's a whole different, yeah. Anyway, I'm no longer in the media, but anyway.
The difference is you don't need a license to be
Correct.
a journalist.
Correct.
See, what did that young man say, Miss Dana? If news is for profit, reality is for sale.
Yes.
Jeez.
A
Yes.
profound remark he made. That was just about an hour ago.
Yeah. So I just
Yes.
came in about 20 minutes ago, but just quickly, my follow-up question is just because I'm trying to understand the courtroom. If the judge is the one that will make the decision on whether she was unethical or may be.
No. That's not even the issue. She's not on trial. She's a witness. The issue is whether the Fulton County District Attorney's Office should be removed from the case because the titular constitutional head of that office did some things that question the impartiality of the office. And further, the question comes up, should Wade be allowed to remain a special prosecutor because he's not detached and independent? See, prosecutors also have a concurrent requirement, ethical requirement, when they uphold the Constitution to announce to the court when, Your Honor, in the interest of justice, it is developed that information has come to light that would require that this matter be dismissed in the interest of justice. And they're supposed to do that. So when somebody campaigns on a promise to get a sitting president, in other words, I'll find something to prosecute him on, and this is before the election even takes place, then you have to be suspect of the impartiality and objectivity. So we are not here to try Miss Fanny. We are here to determine whether the office stays on and Mr. Wade stays on. And she was a witness. When she gave all of that incriminating evidence, she was not even called as a witness. The lawyers for the DA's office were arguing that she need not be called as a witness, but she walked in, look, I'm going to testify. And like her lawyers are looking at her wide-eyed, like, what? And everybody in the courtroom is, what in the world is wrong with you? And she just put hand on hip and did that snake charm with her neck and head and walked on up there with a smirk on her face and an arrogant attitude. And she implicated herself. You weren't here. And I'll repeat it for people that have been in here. What I saw was some things that implicated her with tax evasion, tax fraud, failure to report, making a false statement in order to get out from under her tax lien on her home, which generally requires some attestation subject to federal penalties of perjury that your financial condition is as you represent. And yet here she is talking about $15,000 in cash in her house and all of these unreported cash transactions that IRS requires to be reported. She's in trouble. And ethically, this is the other thing. Did she have sex in an affair with Wade before he got appointed, or did it develop after he was appointed? It makes absolutely no difference.
All right. I want to move on to other speakers because we got about an hour left.
I've noticed all the people came in. I'm going to finish quickly to bring them up.
Judge, it was an honor. Thank you. Dana with a long A because you're not Hispanic. Well done yesterday. Anyway, thanks for bringing me up. Judge, it was an honor. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, there are some people that just coming in and just listen to this in the beginning. Go to my YouTube channel, The Real Dana, because Judge Joe Brown sums up, breaks down this whole case inside out. Yes, Nick, you're next. Then P. Ray. And you never called me back that day, but that's all right, honey. Kanye.
I forgot about you recorded it so they can go.
Then Kanye. Then each one teach one. Then Negro. Kobe Cash. I dropped you out the space by accident. I just mean to drop you down to listener. So please come back in. Go ahead, Nick.
Thank you so much, Dana and Judge Joe. I appreciate you guys, doing this, especially for as long as it is. I know you guys have busy careers and you guys have a lot of things going on. I appreciate this. I want to bring up 5 different points if I can, and then see what Judge Joe might have to say about those 5.
No, we're not doing 5. No. We're not 5 different points. Not 5, honey.
Okay.
Not 5.
Well, let me
do 5. Do the 1 and then ask a question.
So here's they're all tied into one. So I'll just do like a very small run-on sentence. I promise you it'll be very short. So in DC, Donald Trump was stripped in a private hearing of his attorney-client privilege with no actual reason for his attorney-client privilege being stripped. In the courtroom in New York City, Judge Enron summarily, right, with no other body other than him, found him guilty, then proceeded to give him a $350 million judgment where there was no crime and no injury. And then now what people don't realize in New York is what the kind of the crafty thing that happened with Enron was, in order for him to actually appeal, he would have to put up the full amount, whether he goes through like, the legal version of a bail bondsman or something. Even then he would have to put up 10%, which with taxes and everything would be about $45 million, which he would lose out on. I hear everybody every single day talking about the hush money payments, which sounds good because like the words hush money sound nefarious. Hush money. He paid hush money payments. But all he did was sign a non-disclosure agreement. He never had a gun to anyone's head. They voluntarily, with their legal counsel present, signed non-disclosure agreements. And then years later come back and say that, that this was a hush money payment, which any single person on Fox News board, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, all the letter words, they've all signed NDA agreements. Now to Fani Willis, who, if you guys think back to about 2 years ago, she was actually, her predecessor was one of the most corrupt DAs in the country. And people said, you know what? Can't get worse than him. So they elected Fani Willis. Now, Fani Willis stuck herself in the hole because she said in an interview, I believe it's to MSNBC or ABC, she said, Georgia, Fulton County deserves a DA that's not going to sleep with its subordinates and take money from its subordinates. Well, that's exactly what she did. She slept with the guy. Now, there's a discrepancy as to whether it was prior to or after, but even if it's after, it's even worse. I mean, it's in any way you chop it up, it looks really bad. So she actually is putting Donald Trump and his 19 associates on trial for a RICO Act, which in order to have a racketeering, influenced, corrupt organization, those people have to be doing things together in coordination to commit crimes together, when it looks like the 19 people that were charged in the RICO Act, the only thing that they have in common is that they were charged together. Half these people don't even know each other. Now, she did actually commit fraud, like without question. When she talked about pulling money out of her campaign, I believe that actually was legal because she donated to her campaign. But I'm talking about the actual fraud that she commit with Nathan Wade. She commit RICO charges herself because it takes more than one person to commit a RICO charge. Now, it's funny that the way that they've situated this legal warfare was to occur about 8 months before an election, when single-handedly the greatest person. Now, I've heard a lot of things about race. I haven't mentioned anybody about being black, white, or anything in between. But the person that's helped the black community, right, was Donald Trump when he signed. If you're talking about black people and criminal justice, because black people have actually been harmed in the criminal justice system. They've been harmed by the Clinton crime bill. Donald Trump undid that. Said, hey, if you have a nonviolent offense and you've served your time, all of these pathetic crack laws that Joe Biden signed into effect, that his son would be doing life in prison had he actually been charged for some of these laws, Donald Trump actually signed that into effect. On the day that it went into effect, 3,000 inmates who were never going to see the light of day, the light of day, they were never going to see the light of day, were actually let out of prison. So when you talk about guys like Judge Enron, when you talk about Fani Willis, and you talk about stripping him of his most basic right, the right to a defense, to the right to legal counsel, Judge Joe, my question to you is, are we living in the Soviet Union?
Well, let me say this. I think we're not living in the Soviet Union. We're living in Germany or Italy in the 1930s.
Well said.
And
well said.
Fascism and communism rely upon the same methodologies, but for a different purpose. Communism is universal. You spread it, white, black, brown, red, yellow, wherever you are on the planet. You deserve to be free from the evils of uncontrolled capitalism. When you have fascism, they tend to advance one group at the expense of another, like Hitler and his Untermenschen, or the fascisti at the expense of the Ethiopians, or of people who did not agree with them. See, they advance a singular cause. Communism is about a universal cause, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. The other one goes, we take from them to give to this other group, them, those, us. It's a difference. But yes, now one thing you brought up, the 501k she withdrew the money from to donate to her campaign. Guess what? That's non-tax. That's not tax deductible, that kind of campaign contribution. And generally, you cannot claim.
I was giving her the benefit of the
There's
doubt.
no benefit of the doubt. That's a faux pas. She owed taxes on. This is the interesting thing. That's her story. But it's really stupid listening to the chief prosecutor dig a hole for herself, because if she got it out of the 501k when she did, it became taxable, and she did not report it. Next thing, when she donates it to the political campaign, in the amount she claimed, she can't deduct that because it's not tax. It does not have. It's not tax deductible. So what happens is, when you get all of that, you find the more she opened her mouth trying to defend herself, the worse she made it in another way. So it's like, for example, somebody actually in front of me was testifying about the defense that they had to a charge brought against them, and what they were doing as part of the defense was confessing to what was a worse crime. So I had to just stop and take the jury out and read him his rights because nobody seemed to want to do it. Now, I'm surprised the judge didn't, but the DA needs to be read her rights. Come on, you're supposed to know. And the other thing is, she's just not making a statement to police or investigators. She's under oath and it's on the record. So anybody that wants can look at them. So the problem is just like you said. If she developed that affair afterwards, she had an obligation to report it to the judge. If she developed it before, she had an obligation to inform the judge before he made the appointment. See, what's going on is she is acting as an officer of his court. That's what she is as a member of the bar. So what she does impugns upon him. It's like if you've got an employee and they go out and do something and you are the boss, you may get stuck with liability for what they do. She is an officer of the court, just like a beat cop is under the chief of police. What happens is what she does is chargeable to him, so he can do things with her that you couldn't do to an ordinary defendant or anybody else because she took an oath of office. See, attorney is an office. It's an officer of the court. Therefore, the courts can control the attorneys. So that's what he's doing. And she was a witness to the issue of whether or not that DA's office would be removed. She took it as an attack on her and tried to glorify her situation. And instead of closing her mouth, she not only testified when she may not have had to, she didn't just answer the question. She gratuitously went on and on and on and made it worse and worse. So you're right. What were you looking at?
Well, the one thing I would like to close on is this is the actual mindset. Now, I don't want to call them liberals. I don't want to call them Democrats because it's not just a liberal or Democrat issue because it's an elite issue. We have people in this country who genuinely feel, whether it's because of their race, their politics, their gender, their height, their weight, I don't care. They feel that they are above the law. Now, we've seen in the 30s and in the 40s, there was a man. Probably a lot of people on here don't know the name of the man, which is pretty sad. You should, and you probably do. His name is Joseph Stalin. He had a prosecutor. His prosecutor said to Joseph Stalin, Joseph, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. If I investigate anybody, I can find a crime. That's what they've done here. There's not a single person on here. I would bet on this call right now, $50,000. If we go through any one of the politicians that you guys have or friends or people that you follow, and we investigate them, not for a crime that we saw, because that's how it's supposed to be in America. In a functioning republic, because we are not, I know this word gets slung around like mud all the time. We're a democracy. We're a democracy. We're not a democracy. Nowhere in the Pledge of Allegiance does it say, I pledge allegiance to this flag for the democracy. It's a republic. Nowhere in this republic is there a person in power who, if we didn't go and pull the curtain back, check their personal life out, go in their closet, pull out their drawers, go in there, see what's going on in their life, would we not find a crime? There's a statistic that the average American commits 10 federal crimes per day. And these people know that. And if we were to go and pull out Nancy Pelosi's closet, Bill Clinton's closet, Kamala Harris's closet, Mitch McConnell, the Speaker of the House right now, Kevin McCarthy.
Nick, I need to start wrapping it up.
Sure. No, that's all I wanted to say is if there's a saying, it's a good old Democrat/communist saying, you show me the man, I'll show you the crime. That's what they've done. But listen, I
Thank you.
appreciate Dana and Judge Joe. I appreciate the hospitality. I appreciate what you guys do, and I thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. I
I
appreciate
have a
you as well.
digression. You're very profound about that. I heard it from a witness kind of to that. Back in the 60s at UCLA, back in the 60s at UCLA, I was teaching assistant for a visiting professor. She was a professor emeritus at the University of Moscow. This was at the height of the Cold War. She had been the highest ranking woman on the Soviet Politburo, and at one point she actually was in charge of propaganda for the KGB, and prior to that for its predecessor, the NKVD. She elaborated at great length to the class she was teaching, which was the Soviet sphere of influence in world politics at UCLA. Now, the other thing, too, that she said, touching upon your remark about fascism and communism and such, she said America is in grave danger of becoming a fascist nation. To quote her, and I remember it because she'd say it a lot, America will become fascist, not as a result of some jackboot wearing, goose stepping uniformed thugs, but from some pink panty wearing, long haired beatniks, as she put it. And that's how she looked at it. She said, these people are afraid to confront ordinarily Americans because the average American is a brave man or woman. So they will cowardly seek to use the tools of government to oppress, because even though they are proud of the rules that allow them to assert themselves and get where they are, they do not believe that they can prevail in a fair exchange of ideas under your First Amendment guaranteeing free speech. So when they get in a position using free speech to apply the law, they will use it to persecute the rest of their fellow citizens to keep them from uttering anything that deviates from their agenda. That is, if anything, worse than what we do, or were worse than the fascists did when I was fighting them, she said, at Stalingrad. She was
Okay.
Khrushchev's deputy under chief commissar, and got hero of the Soviet Union at the Stalingrad siege in World War II.
All right.
But that was truth.
All right. I want to move on. I want to go to P. Ray, that's Black Chicago, then Kanye, each one teach one, then the Negro. Go ahead, P. Ray. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was saying, sorry, I was not prime time ready Sunday. So that's why I did not call you
No,
back.
no, no.
I
I was
was
just
not
teasing
ready.
you because I was.
I know. I don't want you to think that I ghosted you because I did it. I just was not prepared to speak with you because you are somebody that I really
Oh,
respect.
thank
So I want
you.
to be, yeah, I want to be 100% when we talk. However, thank you guys for allowing me on the space. I'm P. Ray, the hostess of Black Excellence Hour, a show for people with high self-esteem, Sundays at 5 p.m. on WVON 1690 AM Chicago. We're the oldest Black station in the country, the epicenter of Negro politics. With all of that being said, this Sunday, I spoke about Fani on the show. And I played two clips that I got from Travian Cootie, who is on the Georgia indictment, where both Fani and Nate perjured themselves. And when I brought it to the listeners here in Chicago, I said to them that, we are looking at a situation where a woman let a shiesty married man talk her out of her panties and then use her money from her job and then pay her way to be with him. That's what we're looking at here, guys. This is what happens
Amen.
when you are in a space of desperation. This has nothing. So Fani and I have a lot in common. We're both daddy's girls. We're both Black women. We both went to HBCUs. We are both members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And what I told the people is, although we have that in common, this has absolutely nothing to do with me. This is an embarrassment for Black women who are within our brand. because what they're trying to do right now is use my brand and everything that I've worked for in order to justify the scandalous, the salaciousness of her behavior. And I don't think that it's right. I also don't think that it's right that when she came to the interview, because it wasn't a trial, so we'll call it an interview. When she came to the interview, she didn't have on a stitch of drawers. Nothing. I mean, I
No,
just looked at
wait,
her like,
stop,
did
stop,
you?
stop, stop, stop,
Yes,
stop.
ma'am.
She had on underwear because I saw the panty line, honey. She did not have on an undergarment. You need to have on a
That's what I mean.
yeah, no
So
slip,
she's a
nothing.
Southern woman. Yes, that's what I mean. So you're a woman, I'm a woman. All the black women and white women, American women, we know what drawers look like. Drawers, they're panties, and then they're your drawers. Your drawers hold you together. She didn't have on a stitch of drawers, nothing whatsoever. And I'm like, girl, you were raised better than this. So it seemed like to me, she heard Nate's testimony and then grabbed that wrinkled pink dress, threw it over her head real fast, and ran to the courthouse. So when she got on the stand, in her tone and her combativeness and her attitude, the people across America saw that, who agree with her, as a legitimate way to behave on the stand. And for me, that's my biggest problem, because she was not a good image of how one should behave when they are speaking to the judge. She told them, oh, keep it cute. She had an attitude. She was talking mess, rolling her neck, rolling her eyes, when she knows good and well that that is not how you go before a judge in any American court. So now you have people here in Chicago, before we had the conversation Sunday, who were all like, yeah, that was a good show of black womanhood, and she got them told, and black women, now the world can see what black women go through on their jobs. And I'm like, no, 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 guys, please don't elevate this behavior to acceptable behavior, because it is not. This has nothing to do with black women. And if you take your black ass to the stand acting like that, you're going to be held in contempt. You cannot behave like that. But she is so busy, because I do believe that she knows that she's about to get kicked off the case. Again, I've been talking to Travian about this for weeks. So everything that we saw last week, Travian told me was going to happen. But I didn't want to rain on her parade and, tell her story before she got to tell it. But Fani knew that this was going to happen. She knows that she's about to be taken off the case. I think that she's lying out of her teeth when she said that she
Wait,
paid him back in
I'm sorry,
cash.
can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, because I don't know what just happened. I thought the space ended, but okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, she's lying through her teeth when she said she paid him back in cash, because we all know that we're in the era where women are saying we're not paying for dates anymore. So even that messes it up for women like me, because now guys are saying, hey, if the DA down in Atlanta doesn't mind paying her way after getting her man $860,000, why can't you pay? And no, that's not what we're doing. This is not the culture of who we are and what we're doing. I understand that there is a man shortage down there in Atlanta. We've been hearing about it for years. However, that does not excuse her desperation and how much she put on the line for companionship and to be with a man to pay her way after giving him almost $1 million. Because remember, friends, that money came from the Fulton County Board after she stood before them and told them that she needed the money to pay for more prosecutors to catch up on the backlog. And this man, from what I heard, was never sworn in, does not have any HR documents, has absolutely nothing that ties him to the county. So she literally brought in her man and put almost $1 million of money in his pocket. That's what we got to look at. Stop. I mean, not in this space, but we have to stop excusing this behavior because she's a black woman who checks all of the black excellence boxes. Absolutely not. Actually, that is an insult to us and all the work that we've done and all the loans that we've taken out and all of the thesis and all the online discussion notes that we've ever done to get our degrees. That has absolutely nothing to do with that. And if everybody could please put it out that black women are not okay with this. They did not poll us at any braid shop, beauty shop, nail shop, Target, Walmart, or Ross. I never got a poll about whether or not we're supporting Fani. And so for me, it is a hell no. And let them know that black women are not okay with this, especially up here in the city of Chicago. And I'll land there. Thank you, Judge Joe Brown. I can't believe I'm talking to you. So, but yes, thank you for being in
Okay.
our space. And Miss Dana, thank you.
All right, Miss Black Excellence, do you know the Vita?
Do I know who?
Davita.
Davita
She
who?
was with WVON.
Oh, I don't know
Well, she
Davita, sir.
was there. WVON offered me a job about 8, 9 years ago. Great place. I used to stay on 71st and Constance in Chicago years ago.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Look here. You're exactly right. See, it doesn't really make any difference what she says, which side you believe. She's done something that I have seldom seen in my long years of criminal law. She talked her in a position where if you believe her, she did wrong. And if you don't believe her, she did wrong. So she made the mistake of committing an ethical violation. It's got nothing to do with black on black. It's got to do with black on white, not white on neither above. It's just when you walk in and you get in a floor of a dojo and you're gonna work out with somebody or even a fight, you bow to them. The prize fighters, Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, get in the ring for the Thriller in Manila. They touch gloves. There are forms, and she didn't follow the forms. It's like, what are you trying to do? See, it's this person is in charge of prosecution in a major American city, and it's like, I'm looking at all these stuff like things like this is what I'd expect from a dumb crook to do, or somebody that was a con man trying to talk his way out of something and talked his way into something. It just did not follow. And it's an insult to all of the black women. I know some very good black female lawyers and judges and justices. I know one on the Second Circuit Court of Appeals for DC. She's a fine woman. She wouldn't act like this. She was a hell of a trial lawyer. I know one on the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. I was her mentor. And she is a great appellate judge, was a great federal judge, and a hell of a trial lawyer. Okay, there are about 5 or 6 women in this area that are now judges that I trained or practiced in front of me one way or the other. They were vigorous, strong advocates, but they didn't act this. But the ones that act like her, you could always beat them because they were so busy trying to beat down the person they thought of as their opponent, they didn't pay any attention to the essential, which was the case. And most importantly, I reiterate this again, this wasn't about her. She was a witness. She was not a party. And she got up there, floor showed, forgot what she was doing. Remember, she's supposed to be in charge of this. And the issue was that only one that really concerned her was she still keeping him under control because she swore up and down she was going to get Trump before she even got elected? In other words, like the previous gentleman said, communists said, find me a person and I can find the crime. And are we looking at that? And that's inappropriate. So she was supposed to have a special prosecutor who was independent. And it turns out he's not. And
Yeah.
she set that up. She messed it up and she compounded it. So we're looking at her losing her law license.
Well, one last thing, and then I'm gonna be quiet. How do we fix this damage that has been done to our brand? Because she got up there acting like she was at a reunion show, a Real Housewives reunion show, and now people think that this is an appropriate way to behave, as well as this is what Black women do, and this is not. So how do we
You
kind
got
of
a radio
speak up?
show. You have a radio show on a major radio station in a major, I think it's the third largest city in the nation, Chicago. So keep talking
Yes,
about
sir.
it.
And it's the top show. It's the top show on the
Well,
station because we turn in Black Chicago red every
go
show.
for it.
It's happening
And
in
by the
real
way,
time.
may I
Thank
make a
you.
joke about it?
Yes, sir.
You said it looked like what kind of show she was doing?
Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Okay, and where are we? In Atlanta?
in Atlanta. But I always thought that they were acting for Bravo, but now I see people really behave like that in real life, and it's just so
We
unbecoming.
used to have a joke. We still have a joke. A whole lot of the professionals in Atlanta act like they're trying to audition for a scene in a cotillion on an Atlanta Housewives episode.
Yes, that is the truth. I just told somebody that, which is why I stay myself in Cook County and I stay on the west side, minding my west side business, trying to turn my city red. Because again, somebody has to hold up a standard of professionalism and poise and elegance for Black women, and she messed it all the way up. Thank y'all.
I
Appreciate you, P. Ray.
appreciate that.
All right, I want to go to Kanye, then each one teach one, Negro, Civic, Lashanta, Lashanta, I hope I'm saying it right. Correct me when I get to you if I said it wrong. Brooklyn and Cherie, I'll bring you up in a minute when somebody else drops down. What I was about to say something else. Oh, please don't put nothing in the jumbotron. If you want to put something, put it in the comment section because people can actually read it during the space and even after the space. So it gets more eyes on it. So go ahead, Kanye.
Yes, how you doing? Great to be here. How you doing, Judge? How you doing, Dana? I just want to say I've heard some excellent points. When the Fannie Williams situation, it was a joke to me. The lady ran, like the judge said, on getting Trump, and I think to not be squeaky clean and do this was a fool's errand. And this highlights a bigger problem that the lady earlier was talking about turning Chicago red. This is the Democrats do. They send people out like Fannie Williams on a fool mission. No doubt in my mind she was hyped up to do this. Because if there was any serious merit to this, the federal court would have looked at this a long time ago. This is a joke. It's gonna get thrown out. Um, and it's just really sad to see that, after all these years, people still not seeing the play. You do this stuff, they're gonna make it about everything, and all of a sudden they're gonna say, you know what? Because right now, truth is truth. She did the worst possible thing. Not only, even if she sat down in it and did not incriminate herself, what she did, her behavior there, made her the topic of conversation. And they can easily say she's too much of a distraction. So it's like strategy wise, you torch the case, and like the judge pointed out, she is an officer of the court. So are the lawyers. So when you go in there, you behave a certain way, it makes the judge look a certain way, and then even past that, like there's no level of decorum there. Don't get cute with me, I get cute with you. It's like that's how you talk to people. Do you want that? This is the highest. This is the prosecutor of the county. This is the precedent you're setting for people on the stand or in an interview. No, everybody will look at that like he said, be held in contempt for it. I do think this is just another instance of the Democrats hyping up people to go do something to try to create a little buzz and flare. It's like throwing knives at a mountain face. It's pointless. It maybe look cool, but it's not going to do much. But also, I know this is kind of off topic though. But when you were talking about that professor and her theory on what's going to turn America communist, I mean, if you get time, could you please send me that information? Because I really want to look into that because I had a theory about that
Are you
earlier.
talking? Well, that was the judge. So just send him send me an email because I don't know if you have my number or not, Kanye, but send me an email and then I'll send it to the judge and tell him to message you on X.
Well, let me say this before we get too deep into making contact with her. That was 55 years ago. I assure you, I don't have anything in writing from her since. I can quote you what I remember, and I used to be her driver going back and forth between UCLA and the Soviet consulate downtown. But I do recall, since I'm a good student, what was being taught to the class. So, with that said, yeah, and if you want to see who this woman is, there is a movie called Enemy at the Gates. It's about a male Soviet sniper and a female sniper. She's not the female sniper. She's the woman in the beginning of the movie who's in the barge when the Soviet troops are crossing the Volga. And German fighters are strafing them, and some of them are panicking. She's the one taking her pistol and shooting a few in the back of the head so they get courage. She used to joke about that.
Okay. All right. I want to go on to each one, teach one, then Negro, Civic, LaShanta, and then and then Brooklyn, and then I see two speakers, Cherie and Katz, and then we're going to close it out. So go ahead. Each one, teach one.
Okay. I think that Fani has something wrong with her. And the reason why I say that is because throughout all her accomplishments, graduation, member of a sorority, HBCU, so forth and so on, there's one thing she did not have, and that was how to be a lady. She fooled around with a man who was married, even though he might have been separated at the time. And I'm not saying that she's the only one that has done that. But in her position to do that and then turn around him to work with her on a most important case, something is wrong with her. She went to a church and she tried to explain her behaviors. She never said she did anything wrong. Something is wrong with her. And then finally she got up on that stand and she just gave too much information, showed too much attitude. And so she's cut her own throat. And I think that they may disbar her. I come from a city where we had a promising Black male who could have been in the Congress today, but he followed almost the same playbook that Fani has been involved with. So we can talk about her, but something is definitely wrong with her. Something is wrong with her character. And I hope that she gets herself together after she has lost her position, because I think that's what's going to happen.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate that. The
Let me make a
Negro.
quick remark. Let me make
Okay.
one quick remark since you brought it up. This is what the Democratic Party is trying to push on the public. This is what's supposed to be running your government for you. So the question is, she's typical, just like Stacey Abrams in Georgia. So is this what you want running your business? Now that you get an opportunity to see it, it doesn't look too good, does it? A lot of people have been trying to say this is what it looks like behind the scenes. I do this in Memphis all the time. You should see some of these people when they really are doing their things rather than what they present. Now, that's it. I pass the mic.
All right. I want to go to the Negro, and then after that, I just want to highlight some of the super chats on YouTube. And YouTube, please hit the like button and share the video. And then Civic, LaShanta, Brooklyn, and I see two people requesting. Then we're going to close it out. So go ahead, the Negro.
All right, thank you, Sister Dana. What's up, Judge, and salute as always. I like to read the title of the room, and then I'm gonna get into the question. Smoking on that fanny pack, I sure am. Today with the Judge Joe Brown and more. All right. First things first. I'm tired of people in the spaces and everywhere and making it like Fanny's the only DA that ran on locking people up. You had that guy Kevin Steele who ran on the premise of locking Bill Cosby up unjustly and was able to get that done, you know? So when I hear people crying for Trump and all that other stuff, I'm chuckling and I'm laughing. I'm hearing a bunch of white tears that I'm not really entertaining. That's that white man's issue, and he needs to hold his own nuts, respectfully. He has enough money and a good lawyer. He can hang on his own. We need to be worrying about our own people who are getting railroaded by these DAs. Don't worry about the white man tears. He can save himself. So that's just all I want to say briefly towards some of the critics that want to support Trump and crying the boo-hoo tears from him instead of letting him hold his big boy pants and handle it on his own.
Thank you. I appreciate that, the Negro. And I just want to let you guys know, like when we do the space on Tuesdays, when the judge do the space, is 3 hours. So some people, they come in a little bit later. So it's not like we just started. And I know people are getting off work and getting settled and stuff like that. Let me just go to YouTube real quick. It says Abba says, hello, Dana and Judge. Judge Joe Brown, I met you when I lived in Memphis a few years ago. FYI, if I still lived there, I would have voted for you. Thank you so much. Appreciate the support. And Bob Gable, will this affect other cases? That's a good question. We kind of touched on that earlier. Well, no, I think we touched on that on YouTube. But Judge, quickly, can it affect other cases that her office is in the middle of, as for example, the big YSL case, RICO case that's going on now?
Okay, as far as what happens locally in Georgia, yes, because it destroys the confidence of the would-be jurors to see what's behind the prosecutions. Nationally, this is the face of what's been going on, and there was an effort to derail Trump by these prosecutions or these civil actions, even if they do not stand on appeal, to, in other words, so distract the candidate that he can't campaign. Now, I am very much a fan of Trump's in this case because I'm a citizen. And if they can do it to him, they certainly can do it to me. And I don't have as much money as he does to defend myself. So I am concerned about those kinds of things. That said, the people that once were staunchly against the man or supporting somebody because they're getting someone evil are beginning to see that there may be another side. So actually, that's a silver lining to the cloud because people get the idea that there are two sides to everything now. Don't believe everything you hear because it's not always accurate. So even now, the media that was once defending her, the same media that talked about Saint Stacey Abrams and some other people, you're seeing what's really behind it. So beware, an election cycle is coming up. And when you go to your polling place, keep this in mind. And remember, Trump may be evil. The Democrats may be talking to the people that have always voted for him. But this is what they're trying to run on you. And you don't want to let them get more of this place. Just remember that.
All right. I want to go to LaShanta. I don't see Civic up here. I guess he dropped down. Did I say your name? LaShanta?
Yeah, you said it right. How you doing this evening, Dana?
I'm doing good. And I did not forget about you. So I'm doing good.
Okay, just let me know when. Good evening, Judge, into the room, everybody. I hope you're having a good evening. 2 points I want to touch on. Chicago said, how do we reverse the damage that Fanny's done? First of all, it can be reversed. Just today, I had a white counterpart ask me, what did I think about Fanny? And I told them I don't. Even though I know I watched the case, I said I don't. I said, she gets enough TV time. I'm not going to give her my personal time. And he turned around and said, oh, okay. Well, you're always so polite and professional. Oh, you're so poised. I continued to do what I had to do. So we can reverse it by not arguing or debating about it, but by our representation and how we carry ourselves in public. And when they bring it up, just don't entertain it because they're looking for entertainment. They're looking for either us to be the angry black woman or rolling of the neck. How could she? Don't live by the narrative that they put before us. The second thing was someone said that they feel like she's mentally ill. To a point, she may be, but she's a product of nepotism. And nepotism breeds narcissism. And you can see it all over her. They put her on the pedestal, made her this special person for the black people and for the black woman. And she does not know how to handle the power. She does not know what to do with it. And it shows in her conduct in the courtroom. So it is a blow, but if we present ourselves the proper way, we can recover from it. And that's basically all I want to say, and I land my plane.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well said. Brooklyn.
Thank you.
Is Brooklyn still here? No, he dropped down. Let me see. This person was requesting Cherie. I tried to bring you up and then it dropped back down. All right. I don't know what's wrong with your connection. I don't got time for that right now. All right, so listen, yeah, why you keep still requesting? There was an error. Okay, it's saying it was an error, Cherie. Something's going on with your connection. All right, 10 minutes. Judge, I guess you could talk for 10 minutes, I guess. Oh, the Negro, you have your hand up. Did you want to say something else?
Yeah, it's just in regards to like the Bill Cosby thing. Like we have to keep in mind that Kevin Steele did run on a platform to lock up Bill Cosby, and he's not the only DA as well as Fannie. You know, I really think that there needs to be a way that they DAs can't campaign on a lock 'em up approach per se, or a specific individual. You know, I think that that's unconstitutional. It should be viewed as unconstitutional. You know, but it's not. But it should. And I just wanted to like tap into a little bit more of that perspective, Judge Joe Brown. Like, why are these DAs allowed to move in this manner to be adversarial to the public, instead of being a good steward and helping our public to seek justice and repair? Because I don't see those type of things being done as a DA.
Why does this happen?
Yeah. Why are they allowed to operate in this fashion?
You put them in office.
Yeah, but we put them in office because we thinking they're going to do their job, meaning bring justice.
You have every opportunity to check them out. They submitted their resume. They made an application to you, the citizen. Put me in. Did we do our job to check them out? Or did we wait till election day to walk in and have some celebrity politician hand us a sample ballot with somebody's picture on it? Mm-hmm. We got a current, the last mayor, he got elected the first time. He was white. He was running against a black opponent. He paid all of these black politicians to put him on a sample ballot. Guess what they did? They put his white picture over his black opponent's name, and the black opponent's picture over his name, the white guy's name. So he got elected. People thought they were voting in a black man, and it was somebody that just cheated on the thing. So he was the mayor for 2 terms. Now, see, we didn't do our homework. We depended upon somebody telling us what to do. They handed a ballot to us. Go do your homework. And when you start asking, look at a trial record. By the way, she obviously doesn't have much criminal experience. So how do you get a person running the prosecutor's office who's a rookie? See, it's our fault. We elected her, or somebody there did.
Right. I want to say thank you, Judge, for answering my questions, and salute to you as always. Salute to you, Dana. I'm going to be signing off.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you, everybody that came up to speak. Appreciate everyone listening, everybody on YouTube, everybody that sent in the super chats on YouTube. Appreciate you guys. And Judge, please close out the show. Now, tomorrow, Judge O'Brown will be on News Toter, Twitter Space, X Space, tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, and I'm pretty sure they're going to talk about Fannie and probably some other stuff tomorrow. I will be staying on this Fannie topic. You know, it may not be for a whole show on YouTube, but we're going to still talk about Fannie all the way up to when that judge released his judgment, and even after the damn judgment. And what I don't want to see going forward, or what I do not want to see, is the Biden administration or these Democrats trying to censor people on social media or content creators who are talking about this debacle. Because for some reason I was kicked out of my own space today. I don't know if anybody noticed, and then I was able to reconnect. I noticed on YouTube, sometimes on YouTube, people try to flag or whatever. So no, we're not saving her. Just like Amber in that Johnny Depp case, we was dragging her white ass. We gonna drag this black ass woman too. So everybody can get it, and you know, she's up to bat. With that said, Judge, please close us out.
We learned something today. We learned something yesterday, and all through this episode. Don't always believe what you get told. Don't jump on a bandwagon just because the music sounds good. Be strong. Incentivize yourself to look behind the scenes, go a little bit deeper, dig a little bit harder, and see what you come up with, because this is the face of what the Democratic Party has been passing off to you as something that ought to be running your governmental business. So just remember that. You see, the most interesting thing about this is people were telling me last month, well, he's got 92 pages of indictment against him in Georgia. Must be about something. Prosecutors wouldn't bring anything unless they had some. Well, now that you've seen the person in charge, what do you think? See how it goes? Doesn't look too good when you get to the reality. You get a self-centered, egotistical narcissist who is so deep off into herself, she doesn't even pay attention to what she ought to have on board as professionalism. And she did stuff that you would find the most arrogant, lightweight, C-grade crook doing to put a case on himself. So anyway, I'll pass it on. Be strong. Have a great day. Thanks for coming.
That's it.
That's it. I think things spoke for itself.
All right. So yeah. So if you want to hear the judge again this week, tune in tomorrow on X Space News Total. He will be there. And of course, we will be live Thursday evening on YouTube at The Real Dana on YouTube for Man Up Thursdays. And everybody have a wonderful night and a wonderful week. And see you back on YouTube Thursday. Bye.